Another NFT, trophy and $25,000 is at stake on this final day of the Julius Baer Generation Cup. It's looking good for Magnus Carlsen. He won the first day of the final in dominant fashion. And now for young Arjun Erigaisi, he will have to make a massive comeback to win the tournament. Let's hope for some action today. Welcome to the very final day of the Julius Baer Generation Cup.
This move I have never seen before.
It's now or never for Giri.
Unbelievable how he finds that move.
We've got to call that Prague style.
They're playing like stockfish.
But he's gone for it.
White hanging on, and he's dropped a bishop.
Dropped his bishop.
Handsome mistake.
This is so difficult.
Whoa! Oh!
No way!
Hello! That is the kind of move that I like to see.
Magnus Carlsen is very close to winning another tournament this season on the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour. In the lead, Arjun Erigaisi. He will have to win today's match and take it to tie breaks to win his very first Meltwater Champions Chess Tour tournament. And in the studio to guide you through every single move in this final day of the tournament, as always, Grandmaster David Howell, Grandmaster Simon Williams, called you Simon Howell constantly yesterday.
Yeah, that was a real honour to be part David for a day.
Yeah.
I was like, well, my word, I look up to this man so much, and now you're calling me after the great man. Thank you.
I'll just stick to Ginger GM, the great Ginger GM, and International Master Jovanka Houska. And David, what chances do you give 19-year-old Erigaisi today?
To be completely frank, it's going to be an uphill struggle. It's going to be incredibly difficult for him, but it just depends how much he learned yesterday. And we have seen in the past, Magnus has taken his foot off the pedal a few times when he's taken the lead after day one. That was a theme of last season's tour. Magnus starting well in the knockouts, but then fading when the finishing line is within touching distance. So I think no more than 20% for Erigaisi, but still a chance.
Yeah.
Still time.
All right, and he needs to be fresh today. Erigaisi, no doubt about that. Are you feeling fresh today, Simon, after enjoying the good night yesterday?
I was going to say 100%, but I would be lying. I'm okay.
Yeah?
I've been worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty okay. It was very entertaining.
We do have a cool picture of Simon from the good night yesterday. I love this. So you interviewed this very cool girl at the good night yesterday. She was very into like Viking things, and she wore this cape, and Twitter went crazy. They loved it, and you actually got to try it on.
It was awesome, actually. There were some real characters down there yesterday, and she was certainly one of them. And yeah, she dresses up like this on a regular basis. So in a cape, and basically like a figure from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And she's a classical singer as well. And then you had some other crazy people. It was a very weird day, shall I say, but most entertaining. And
yeah.
I'm thinking maybe I should get one of them. I mean, a little cape. Do you reckon?
Good.
Yeah. Do you reckon I could rock it in here? Might get a bit hot.
Yeah.
But so yeah, could try
Why not? That is the new look.
Yeah,
I think you definitely are rocking it.
Yeah, maybe a bit dark. Yeah, I don't know. Sort of
Little Ginger Riding Hood.
Little Ginger Riding Hood. Yeah, with a little green ginger riding hood. So, but yeah, it's a cool style anyway.
Yeah. Vikings in the good night yesterday, and Magnus, he is the Norwegian Viking, on fire yesterday. Do you expect more of the same today, or could we see Magnus, as David said, maybe take his foot off the pedal?
It's possible, but we have to remember Magnus himself is going to be very aware that that has been a weakness in the past. So I would presume that today he's actually going to put even more effort into beating the young Eric Icy. You know, he was so impressive yesterday. He just looked unstoppable. And if he continues with that form, like David, I'm very pessimistic about Arjun's chances.
Yeah. Let's go back to yesterday and take a look at the unstoppable Magnus Carlsen and some of those genius moves he found in the games yesterday.
Magnus's position, I mean, it looks overwhelming, actually, because I'm looking at the Black Knight on b5, and it's completely misplaced. And his position is so crammed. It feels like Magnus is in suffocation mode. He's that python wrapping around the victim.
You look at Magnus, he's not even trying to disguise his intentions. He's lined up his bishop, his queen, his 2 rooks, all against this 1 pawn.
And a big threat on the board of actually playing rook takes knight. I think this is a killer, actually.
Yeah, and there we go. I think Eric Icy has resigned, facing a deadly attack from the world number 1.
Oh, do we have a blunder? Sorry.
Yeah, we absolutely do.
He's playing with fire, Eric Icy, whether it's good or not. The evaluation bar tells us black is winning, but how can you let the black queen so near the white king? He finds it. Wow.
No.
If he finds this move, he's doing the checkmating. If he played any other move, he would have been checkmated. Wow. Jovanka, you're right. This knight is coming in now. There's also the idea of some checks. There's also the black knight coming to take this pawn. Maybe white can't defend. Magnus, he's going to deliver checkmate. It's unstoppable now. Checkmate coming on this square, or checkmate coming via the knight on this square. 2 threats, and the white king is doomed.
Wow, Magnus Carlsen is up by 2 points now in the final. Eric Icy with the white pieces. He loses in 30 moves.
Yeah, Magnus, he's playing for the win.
Yeah, he's going for it.
Yeah, and now after this bishop move, he can go to the side of the board, right?
Yeah.
Magnus is winning. You win a pawn.
Whoa.
The white a pawn drops, but we will see. Okay, Magnus reacted.
Did he blunder?
Yeah, he kind of blundered away the win.
Magnus doesn't even want to hang around. We're going to see this game end with king versus king, and Magnus takes the first day of the final.
He did so in dominant fashion, winning the first game, the second game in only 30 moves. He was about to win game 3 as well, won in accuracy, and the third game ended with a draw. Magnus won the first match in only 3 games to take the first point in the final. And David, we talked to Magnus yesterday. He was focusing on the inaccuracies he played yesterday, but basically there were mostly genius moves.
Yeah, there were very few inaccuracies from the Norwegian. He played very smoothly, very controlled chess, and Eric Icy, he just seemed powerless. I think anyone in the world yesterday would have been powerless against Magnus's play. And Magnus, he's just looking sharp. All sorts of positions, attacking positions, defensive positions, strategic. He's just, top of his game right now.
Yeah, we actually had some stats yesterday showing that if Magnus would not have lost that game to Hans Niemann, which he resigned from in the preliminaries, and he had won that game, he would have a performance rating of 3,000 from a bunch of games now he's played in this tournament.
Yeah.
How strong is he now?
He's looking good, and I mentioned it yesterday. I haven't seen Magnus being this focused, this determined, and this strong since 2019. And back in 2019, there was some drama about the Norwegian Chess Federation, some sponsorship deal. Magnus, amidst all that drama, brought out his best chess. It seemed to focus him, and it seems like with stuff that's going on right now in the chess world, it's doing the same again. And it's made him really focus on the chess, and that's just how he's channeling his energy.
Yeah, because maybe lately we have been questioning his motivation. He even walked away from the World Championship title. Do you think the drama going on outside the chessboard now is motivating him?
It seems to be doing so, just judging upon the moves and the results. It's also a big couple of days for Magnus, not just the final today, but he has promised a statement. And once all that is done, I'm sure it'll be a weight off his shoulders. But the chess world's going to be watching today's chess festival.
Absolutely. And coming up after the first game today, we're going to show you another Celebrity Challenge. But first, we have to take a look at the tour standings because this is interesting. Magnus Carlsen, he is now at $170,000. In second place is Prague. And if Magnus wins today, Prague will basically be more than $70,000 behind. There is maximally $90,000 left to fight for. Can Magnus Carlsen start celebrating the overall win in the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour?
He's close.
Yeah.
He's very, very close now. It's hard to imagine, firstly, Magnus not scoring that well in the next two tournaments of this season's tour. It's also hard to imagine Prague winning every single game. He's capable. But, yeah, it looks like a one-horse race at the moment.
He's
Magnus.
been, super dominant this season, Magnus Carlsen. And he was great also at 10 years old. So after the first game today, we will show you another celebrity charity chess challenge. This time, it is the Formula One legend, Nico Rosberg, challenging Magnus Carlsen.
Hi everybody, I'm Nico Rosberg, former Formula One world champion, and I'm ready to play Magnus Carlsen.
He captured back in the centre.
Ah, he's running away! I am on fire here.
Oh, he's going forward.
I'm in big trouble now.
He needs to play faster.
And my brain is on fire here because of the time running out. Oh, I'm in trouble now.
My brain is on fire, said Nico Rosberg. So this segment is coming up after the first game. We had very few celebrities beat Magnus Carlsen. Actually, we only had some grandmasters. David Howell and Simon Williams are two of those who have been able to. So let's see how Nico Rosberg does against Magnus, 10 years old. There are a total of 4 rapid games to decide this second match in the final today. If Eric Gaisi wins this match, then the final will be decided in blitz tiebreaks. If Magnus wins the first 2 games, it's actually going to be over after 2 games. And if they tie this second match, then Magnus will also be the winner of the tournament. And coming up after game 2, we're going to talk about something very cool, chess boxing. Simon, you've been to an event in London. What a cool sport.
Yeah, it is. It's a load of fun, and it's a mix between chess and boxing. And obviously, there's been some really big news in the last week about a major fight coming up in America, which is going to be, well, maybe just propel it into the big league. But it's bizarre, it's funky, and it's very accessible to the public. So it's exciting, actually. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. One of your friends, Lawrence Trent, has said yes to participate in a massive chess boxing event in LA in December. We're going to talk about that later, but now we're going to focus on the final day of the tournament. Let's hear what Magnus and Arjun said yesterday after the first match.
It was obviously very good. I'm far from satisfied with my play. I think it was pretty. There were some pretty bad moments today, but yeah, overall I can't complain.
Last game, we did see you were a little bit annoyed when a move there sort of cost you the win. Is that one of those moments you're a little bit annoyed about?
Yeah, also like the opening, I made several mistakes, so I just landed in a very poor position. But I don't know. It felt to me that he didn't fully believe in it, which I can't understand. So maybe he didn't take his chances in the last game fully either, because I think at some point he had serious chances to press, but it didn't feel like he was sort of grasping the moment. And yeah, of course, at the end, I thought I was just winning easily by bringing the king, and I just miscalculated that he could drive it back with check, so I had to force a draw. But, you know, that's just annoying, because I mean, I thought I'd played a decent ending, and I'd gone from worse to at that point much better. Of course, it has something to do with the fact that he has the win as well. That probably affected his play negatively.
Hi, I'm a bit disappointed with my play and overall result, but it's going to help me for sure, so I'll take it as a positive turn.
So what do you think you need to change up to win the games tomorrow?
I'm not really sure. It's just evident that he is the better player, but I don't know. Hopefully things will go my way, and I'll try to play my best chess.
humble Arjun Erigaisi admitting that it's evident Magnus Carlsen was the better player yesterday, but he can of course be the better player today. Arjun Erigaisi, he will have to be to win the final sitting in India. It's quite late for him. Going to be 9:30 when the games start. Magnus in Oslo at 6 o'clock for him. And we are especially excited to watch the tour rating for Magnus Carlsen. Currently 28.90. He can again reach 2,900 today with some wins. He hasn't seemed too keen to talk about the ratings, Magnus Carlsen, but let's hope it's in the back of his head, win some games and gain some tour rating. And Jovanka, Magnus yesterday, he was focusing on his bad moves. Is this a sign of the good old Magnus, just a perfectionist when it comes to his chess?
I think this is a sign of one of the world champions. You know, they're constantly looking to better themselves. They're constantly looking for ways they can improve. And yeah, I was surprised as well to hear that Magnus was so critical about his play, because to me it seemed on a practical level flawless.
And Arjun, he is ready. He's going to start out with the white pieces today. He seemed to be in a little bit of a zen moment there, getting himself ready. And you said it yesterday, Simon, it is about the white games for Arjun. So starting with the white pieces today, what does he need to do?
Yeah, the first game, very important. Arjun is very, very strong with the white pieces. He can really gel up an attack very quickly. And if he's going to get anything in this match, I think he needs to get a promising position straight out to the opening here. So, yeah, key game, I think, just to have any chance of getting back into it.
Yeah. Is it just me? Doesn't Arjun look kind of slightly nervous? I know that the game's yet to start.
It's funny, Jovanka, because he does mention that every time we've interviewed him, how nervous he has been. I've noted that. He keeps saying, I was very nervous here, and throughout this tournament. But visually, he doesn't look nervous generally, but he does today. So it's a bit strange, actually, yeah.
And in his interview yesterday, he said some negative stuff like, oh, Magnus is clearly the better player. Normally, you need a positive mentality. You need to believe if you're going to win these matches. And he believes it's a learning experience. That's great. But he needs to also have faith that he can win today.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's like you said, Simon, it's all about the first game. I think he just needs to score. Whether it's a draw, a win, that's fine. He just can't let Magnus get to 2 points out of the first 4 games. And he can't lose with white, essentially, Erigaisi. I think it'll be very good. It'll be a big boost for his confidence if he even just holds this game. Yesterday, he was on the back foot the whole time. So if he can start today well, whether he draws or wins, I think that will be a good launching pad.
Yeah, even Magnus said it, actually, that it didn't look like he believed in it yesterday. Could you actually see it in the way he was playing?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I think myself, Jovanka, we felt it, especially the first game. Very passive, very defensive, just letting Magnus do anything he wanted. Second game was better, more aggressive, but third game as well. He had chances. It didn't really feel like he believed. And I went back afterwards, I played through the games, and again, I just got that sense. It's maybe just a lack of experience against the world number one, but that will come.
Yeah.
That will come.
I guess it is typical as well, the first time you get to face the world champion in a match. It must be easy to be just happy with being there and kind of forgetting that, well, you are there for a reason. You are there because you're a great player and you can win it.
Yeah, I know. It's very easy to be that deer in the headlights, right? You know, just shocked and slightly startled. But yeah, I mean, Arjun has to remember that he is there for the reasons you mentioned, that he is a fantastic player, that he's more than capable of beating Magnus Carlsen. And I really do think he is. You know, Magnus himself called Arjun an amazing talent. Fabiana Caruana has also said, you know, that Arjun is incredible, and he has to remember those things. And when you get there, you have to be ready and focused and just play chess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy to forget all that.
We all suffer from imposter syndrome sometimes. I mean, I know I do when I sit down at the board. Sometimes I'm just thinking, you know, how did I get here? Can I win? Like, how do I beat this guy? He's so good. But Arjun just has to get rid of all the emotion, I think, and focus on the moves themselves, and that will be helped by a good start. And Magnus is ready.
Yeah.
We'll see the moves begin.
It's going to be exciting. Arjun Erigaisi, he starts out with the white pieces. He wants to win this game. Here we go.
Yep, 1d4, a queen's pawn opening. This could lead to a variety of different variations. What will Magnus choose? Okay, not what we expect maybe from the world champion. I haven't seen this one before from him too often. He plays the perk, the modern. Okay, it is the perk, and this could transpose. Okay, he doesn't go into the Philidor defense. He's just letting white occupy the center with his pawns.
Yeah, and Erigaisi developing the dark square bishop. He's getting ready to line up the queen and bishop and perhaps initiate an attack. And there it comes. King is getting ready to run to the long side, to the queen side.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we will see some fiery stuff today.
Cool.
Yeah, and Magnus, I think he's learned some lessons from his game against Pragnananda in the prelims of this tournament. Prag, in a very similar opening, just went straight for Magnus, just attacked him and had a winning position after about 7 moves. So Magnus this time has survived the first few turns at least. The evaluation bar still really liking white. That's because white has a space advantage in the centre and a development advantage now he's castled. But black is super flexible at the moment. Simon, who do you prefer in these types of openings?
Well, I mean, I play this as white and black sometimes, and it's, I think, generally quite well known that the perk is very, very risky. And when I say risky, probably a bit dubious at top level. There's a reason why none of the top grandmasters play it on a regular basis. It's still a great opening because it's a really fun, exciting opening, and you're guaranteed a very adventurous and interesting game. And we see this move now, b5 coming on the queen side. And black is already has a threat. He's threatening to kick the knight away and win a pawn in the centre. So white guards that pawn in the centre. But one thing for sure, you know, you get some of the most interesting positions from this opening. So the right strategy, I think, from Arjun. And I'm a little bit surprised, actually, that Magnus has played so aggressively, you know, because he showed that he can outplay in normal positions. And this is really, really, you know, you can't play more aggressively as black than this opening, can you, really? Yeah. It's super aggressive.
Yeah, it's provocative as well. And I just had a flashback for a second, a bit of deja vu. I was thinking, I've seen something similar to this before. And actually, in the prelims of this tournament, OK, Magnus smiling there, but the prelims of this tournament, in round 1, Erigaisi had white, Magnus had black, and Magnus played the modern defence, which is basically kind of a sister variation to this opening, and Magnus won as black. So I think he's just basing...
He crushed him.
He crushed him.
He crushed
Absolutely
him.
crushed
But
him, yeah.
Yeah, that game was partly due to the fact that Erigaisi reacted too aggressively. So he's not going for the same kind of approach here. Here he's biding his time, he's solidifying the centre, and now is the moment to start pushing those pawns or developing a light square bishop.
Yeah, so white has various options depending on Erigaisi's move. Sorry, not depending on his move, his mood. And you mentioned a few options there, Jovanka. So.
Yeah, so I'm just checking database, and I can see that the pawn push g4 is the main move,
This one.
closely followed by the light square bishop developing to the d3 square.
Yep, this makes a lot of sense, kicking back black's well-placed knight, if given the opportunity, and the other move is to bring the white bishop out. And, OK, he doesn't choose either of those options. He pushes Harry the h-pawn. This one's slightly surprising to me. It looks like this is kind of a nice setup for white. If the knight gets kicked back, at least you can retreat. But the reason I'm surprised by Erigaisi's move is because now, exactly after what Magnus has played, he can't really use the central square for his knight where he wants to place it, because black's knight would jump in with a nasty fork. So instead, he's dropped back, and it's a pawn race.
I think this has gone, I mean, again, from having a bit of experience in these openings, I think this has gone quite nicely for Magnus. I mean, I'm even thinking Arjun may have castled a little bit too soon. I know this is the main idea, but you are putting your king straight away into a zone where you can be attacked. And Magnus is not messing about. I love seeing Magnus attack because you don't often see it. And I love seeing it when he plays super aggressive, because he can play brilliantly super aggressive. Most people just think he's like, oh, well, you know, he's just this end game brilliant. But he can play every part of the game brilliantly. And, well, this is certainly getting very exciting, isn't it, already, this position. But black's made a lot of progress on that queen side.
Yeah, it feels like black is ahead in the race. White still needs a few moves to prepare pushing his pawn forward. Maybe he needs to push this pawn forward as well. And it looks like black isn't really developed. The king's still in the centre, the bishop there, but actually black is really flexible. Black's king, like you said, it's not committed, so it could sit in the centre, it could castle kingside, queenside later. Black's bishop kind of stays on its start square because actually, if it ever moves, it might just get traded off anyway by white's bishop, so he's just kind of saving time, Magnus. And white's knight now coming out via the edge of the board. One thing I've seen Magnus do before in similar positions is actually just take this knight off the board with his bishop, just because black is slightly cramped, and this knight might jump forward into his...
This is like one of the masters of this line, Tiger Hillett Person, recommends that move, David, quite a lot, using the bishop to get rid of that knight. And it has quite a lot of similarities to some Najdorf lines, even this opening with the black knight and the king side coming across the other way. But certainly going to be very exciting. I would just like to say a quick hello in the chat to someone who was down the good night yesterday, and he told me his name was Ra, like a tiger. Ooh. And or can I just call him Mr. Fireball Man? Oh. But I did spot him in the chat earlier. So yeah, he's certainly a character, and a good character.
Where was he from? From Oslo? Or?
He was from Oslo, yeah. Okay. But we had a mutual friend that he knew, John Naylor, from the old times. So yeah.
Because I noticed yesterday there were a lot of. Oh wait, what just happened?
Magnus played a slightly odd move. I've got to say, he's committing his pawns in the centre. He's just encouraging Arjun to push forward even further and go on the attack. And Evaluation Bar thinks it's good for white. It does look odd to allow this. We've got to say.
Yeah, I have to say, if I were Arjun here and I faced in this move, then I would say, you want me to push forward? That will be my pleasure. I am going to attack that knight. And yeah, Arjun makes that move, and Magnus is forced to put his knight on the side of the board.
Yeah, black's knight is not very well placed here, but it does remind me of a variation they call the North Sea defence, but also the Norwegian rat. Ah! So in that opening, it's very provocative. Black asks white to push forward as far as possible, then he places his knight on the side of the board, and the main idea is just to confuse the opponent, right, Simon?
Yeah, totally. And yeah, very interesting decision there. It's not really like the perk to play that move in the centre, which Magnus went for, and he's really dicing it up today, isn't he? He's taking some very unconventional sort of view of the game, and he's playing some quite wild moves. And I mean, that black knight at the moment, it was threatening to come in, but Arjun has stopped that knight's jump. And yeah, I'm not that convinced about Magnus's plan, because the knight on the rim, yeah, as you're showing, David, is just a target for black's pawns, white's pawns. White's pawns would love to come forwards, and black, I guess, wants to use his knight on the other side of the board to jump in, but not totally convinced this is the right way to play for black, for Magnus.
It's very risky, right?
Very risky.
Not really what you want to be doing when a draw is sufficient. And, well, this is Magnus's deep point. You see a trade of the bishop for the knight, and then he actually retreats his knight on the G7 square, which is usually where a bishop finds itself, but no. And as David highlighted, knight can blockade the pawn or move to the F5 square.
Well, I suppose, David, if he can block it up on the king side, then he's going to be black's going to be doing quite well if he can use his H pawn and the other pawn.
Yeah.
This is what he'd love to do, and this is his strategy.
Yeah, if he's given enough time, as you say, Simon, if he can put all these pawns on light squares, he can compensate for the fact he's traded off his light squared bishop, and yeah, black is rock solid here, the knight coming forward. But this requires white to be kind of agreeable, and can white take advantage before, as you mentioned, black blocks it with these two pawn moves? Maybe there's a way. I mean, Prague, he played a similar idea to pushing his pawn forward and sacrificing some material when he played Magnus in the prelims. Different position, but similar ideas. I would be very tempted to look at pushing this pawn forward. The black knight, I guess, would take this pawn, and Prague, in that position, sacrificed a rook for knight. It looks like it shouldn't work here, but, I mean, there are ideas such as pushing this pawn forward, or...
I love that move, David, that you've pointed out there.
Or
really
pushing
nice.
this pawn forward simply, and then pushing forward again, and it feels like you're gaining so much time, semi-open file. But yeah, I mean, it's just a crazy position.
Absolutely love that idea, because if you push the Gary pawn here, the G pawn, black can still close it down by the looks of it, I think, with a very typical response, moving Harry. And this is the kind of thing black wants to keep it closed there. So I love your idea of offering a pawn. Pawns don't matter so much when you've got such sharp tactical positions. When the kings are on opposite sides of the board, you don't worry about pawns because it's very unlikely you're going to get to the ending. Checkmate is key. So I think this is his chance, right? I think he's got to now play aggressively with confidence and push that H-pawn, and that will show that he's here to play.
Wow.
So,
yeah, I mean, you have to do something before Magnus. OK, he brings his bishop out. I was going to say before Magnus gets his type of position where he just slowly turns it into a positional strategic battle. And this one feels a bit odd. What's the bishop doing there? If the knight moves, for example, then you're just trading off a bishop that hasn't actually moved at all. So White has spent 2-3 moves with his bishop just to trade off. I'm not sure Magnus will even bother with moving his knight right now. This knight is protected. Just looks a bit odd to me. And yeah, what is this bishop doing here? I guess the main idea for Erigaisi is it stops Black blocking it up with his H-pawn.
I'm smiling because this was actually my first instinct to put the bishop on the edge of the board. Okay. And yeah, I agree with you. I think it's not a great move because, like you say, the dark square bishop is actually very good for White and bad for Black.
Yeah, because that was very stuck.
Yeah.
The dark square bishop for Magnus.
Yeah, I mean, if you rewind 2 moves here before it got traded off, this bishop was doing what?
Yeah.
Nothing at all. And also, if you look at the pawn structure in the centre, White has a bit more space because he's pushed his pawns further forward than Black has. Therefore, Black should be the one who's cramped. Therefore, Black trading off pieces, it feels like it helps him. I mean, that's not to say that Arjun's position is bad, but maybe it's just less good than it was. Maybe the moment has passed to really start attacking, and Black's knight's actually pretty good right now.
Yeah, that's a good piece, and White will be struggling with actually his knight. His knight on b1 is back on its starting square. It doesn't have any exciting prospects either.
Yeah.
And is it true that your position is only as good as its worst placed piece?
Nah.
No, it's not really true, is it?
Sometimes it's true. But at least the knight one day can develop itself. It takes a while. Arjun, meanwhile, maybe deciding which pawns to push.
Why can't he do it right away? What am I not seeing?
Yeah, so he would love to develop his knight right now, but this would break the connection between White's rook and the pawn in the centre. And suddenly a pawn would drop off in the middle. Black's knight, is ready to capture this pawn if the White knight steps in the way. So you just have to keep your rook defending this pawn. That means you can't develop your knight, no safe squares. It's not easy. You would love to kind of push this pawn forward and then push again and try to dislodge Black's knight in the centre, but right now this square is covered by the Black knight. You just can't really push. You don't have any control over the dark squares because you traded off your dark squared bishop.
So it's kind of too late right now. The timing is off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not sure exactly what Magnus does. Maybe Magnus moves his queen and then possibly eventually castles king on this side of the board. But, I mean, the problem for Erigaisi is he wants to win. He has White. And there's no clear plan for him either.
So one point about getting that dark squared bishop of Magnus off, could that have been that his king is on an open dark square, sort of diagonally?
Yeah, I mean, I think one idea is that the Black king can never castle anymore on this side of the board. It's not legal because he's moved his rook. At the moment, he's safe-ish diagonally, but...
No, I meant the White king.
Ah, the White king.
Yeah. So why Arjun wanted to get Magnus's dark squared bishop off the board?
Yeah, quite possibly. Although if White, say, had his dark squared bishop still on this square, then there wouldn't have been any checks on this diagonal anyway. It just feels like he would love to kind of have his bishop back here so he could push some pawns. But yeah, it's maybe I'm being a bit critical of Erigaisi's decision, but... Well,
the bar definitely did go down with that move, and he has been thinking now for 3 minutes. Do you think he's regretting his decision?
Possibly, and struggling to come up with a new plan. I mean, for example, you can push Harry the H-pawn, but what's it actually do, even if Black ignores it? OK, you've got a semi-open file for your rook, but you're not really going anywhere with it. Yeah, it's all about this piece, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that bad. I mean, like if I was White here, again, I'd be thinking exactly the way. That's a weird move. I was going to say I'd be thinking the way you're saying, trying to make some break. It's still a very aggressive position in my eyes, as in both kings are quite fragile. So I'd be trying to break through, and I'd be trying to push what is the F pawn in this position. But I don't understand that rook move. You know, any little time loss is not good.
The only explanation I can come up with is that he wants to push this pawn forward now, and then now the square, which was used by the rook, is now opened up for his bishop, but nope.
Now he moves Harry.
Now he moves Harry.
Aha, so maybe that rook move was to do with... Nope, I have no explanation. I know, I'm kind of trying to work it backwards. No.
I mean, I don't think the knight jump was doing anything, and here we go. Now Magnus is the first, it looks to me, to open up the opponent's king. It's all about who gets the opponent's king first in these sharp positions, and White is kind of pushing on an area of the board where not much is happening, as David has shown, and Magnus is directly opening up his queen towards White's king, and with two knights and a black rook backing that up, this could get very dangerous for White very quickly.
I think it already is dangerous.
Yeah, you can't waste time in these positions, you know? You can't play little rook moves like that. You know, you can do it when the position is a lot safer, but this is not a safe position.
And now Magnus has the setup with the pawns that you were advocating for Arjun earlier.
Exactly. Always push on the side you're stronger, or push towards your opponent's king. That's the kind of good strategy. And as Simon said, this rook move, it's also on a very loose square. It's not protected. Just indirectly, I'm a bit worried about some tactics on this diagonal later on. Also, it's really fascinating to me that Magnus, OK, the pawn takes pawn was played, but he's just allowing a check with White's bishop. We talked about kings on open diagonals, but I think Magnus's idea was just to ignore it, just move his king. And he doesn't care that it's a check because his king actually will hide safely later on. But let's catch up with the game. We saw a trade of pawns and another trade of pawns. And yeah, suddenly already danger against the White king. It's looking dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got two knights with black ready to come in. You got a rook. OK, well, Arjun is going for this plan of getting his light square bishop out, which does make some sense. If he can come and maybe capture the black knight, he opens things up a little bit. But Magnus is now to strike first. You've also look at Magnus's pawns on the queen side. He's got two pawns which are really close to the White king, and you can, you know, it's called the pawn storm. You use these pawns to basically lever open your opponent's defensive position. OK, well, first of all, the White rook at least has something it's doing now. It's stopping checkmate. Otherwise, queen takes pawn would be checkmate. So it has some use.
Yeah.
But I'm really liking black's position, Jovanka.
I have to say, and isn't there a big threat of actually jumping in with the knight to the d4, reinforcing the threat against that poor c2 pawn, but also at the same time, a knight on d4 would attack the f3 pawn. And yeah.
Maybe I can play a3 when your knight comes there.
I mean, for example,
I don't get the humour.
It's really weird chess geeky humour. This is like geeky chess humour. This is like, oh my words, it is actually really geeky.
Yeah, it could happen though. Simon basically, by pushing his pawn forward, has weakened this square, so the black knight can actually deliver checkmate. The king is what we call smothered. It's kind of suffocated behind its own pawns, and you can't take this knight because of a pin on the c-file. There was also a second checkmate idea. Yeah. Queen takes pawn, giving up the queen, and again the king is trapped because its own pieces are taking away its escape squares. Wow, this is scary stuff. Arjun very quickly played that move.
What happens to the knight?
But wait 1 second. Can you kind of...
Oh, you want to go b3 first?
Can you do weirdy moves like put pawn on b3?
Weirdy moves.
Weirdy moves. I love it. I love the analogy. Weirdy moves. We want weirdy moves. We want weirdy moves. Give us the weirdy. Weirdy? What am I saying? So the knight comes in. That's a lovely idea, though.
It's tempting. You're threatening again. This knight takes pawn, checkmate. The king trapped. But you're also threatening this checkmate, queen takes pawn. And as we just showed in that variation, the king will be trapped again. But I guess the problem with pushing this pawn as black earlier is that this square's now free for White's pieces.
But the knight can jump to this f3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe I'd probably be happy to give up material anyway, but maybe the White queen can block on this square and kill the fun. Queen exchange will make the White king safer.
Oh.
Very scary.
But wait 1 second. This feels like the idea needs like fine-tuning, and we might be...
It's very close, isn't it?
It's so close.
It is so close. I agree. And like, you know, here, that was so close, that position as well. There was some crazy ideas there, but this whole idea, the knight coming in, is terrifying, isn't it? I mean, but you can also build up a little bit here. I mean, you got a spare move because White's last move doesn't really threaten anything. It doesn't. You know, again, it's a little bit slow. So Black has a spare move here.
Wow, Magnus jumps in immediately, so he's threatening checkmate in 2 moves. Queen takes pawn is a massive threat. Needs to be defended against. You need to either push this pawn forward 1 square, which looks really risky, or you need to defend it.
I mean, can you try to counter-attack? I mean, if I was white here, I'd love to whip that knight off. I don't know.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, I have to say there's only one way that white can defend, and the position is going to get crazy.
Right.
OK, it's the only way that white can defend is to move the queen to the f2 square. And then the move that we were looking at that I called Weirdy is going to might appear on the board.
Wow. Threatening all sorts of checkmates. And
what a position.
Again, pawn takes pawn allows a knight checkmate, smothered mate, and yeah, just to show your idea, Jovanka, queen takes knight. It looks like black's blundered, but at the very least, queen sacrifice again, and a checkmate just with a rook and a pawn. Wow. Incredible lines there. Beautiful stuff.
I mean, how does, in that last line, the computer might say this queen move is OK for white, but how on earth does white defend after that pawn push? And obviously Arjun will see this, but it's not easy if you haven't got the computer running to survive here.
Exactly, and as David highlighted, that is the only move for survival.
Wow.
So white basically just has to ignore that there's a big pawn on the b3 square. I mean, that is so difficult.
You have to let your opponent get 1 square away from promoting and making a new queen. I guess the white knight comes back and captures, but it still looks so scary.
So scary.
Would you guys find that f2 sitting there?
David would find it in a heartbeat.
I don't know. I mean, this is the type of move, in this position after the knight came in, this is the type of move I would look at, but I would still be terrified.
OK.
And I wouldn't be able, I mean, without the evaluation bar in front of me, I would have no idea. I would still be 50% thinking I'm about to get checkmated as white. So,
yeah. But, I mean, I suppose, I reckon he will find it because there's maybe no other option.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking at giving up the rook, which was a bit desperate, to be honest, because it is a whole exchange. But I was actually getting very scared in this position of... There's a couple of checkmates on the board threatening. I mean, if you try to move the bishop to defend it, this is the only other move I can see you can think of. This just looks like it's not going to work somehow. B3 comes anyway, and it's the same kind of thing as we saw, but you know, you want your queen more active, so I think he has to find it. Yeah, and yeah, you can just win the exchange, so he has to find this queen move, and he will find it. I'm confident he will find it. Okay. Anyone want a little cheeky bet there? Anyone thinks he won't play the queen move?
I believe in Arjun.
I think he'll play it.
Yeah, he plays it.
Yeah.
He plays it, and well, just to celebrate that very calm, composed move, I'm going to share with you a tweet from Jimmy Cecil, who says, well, I'll bring it up, you'll see. It's a meme.
OK. Oh, I like memes.
Yeah, memes are good.
Yeah.
I love memes. And if you two also want to join in the fun, because it's the final day, well, you can tweet your picture, your tweet to using the hashtag #ChessChamps. And
Ooh, we see Arjun push a pawn forward. Jovanka, you mentioned there was only 1 move to survive. That was bringing the white knight in.
Oh, yeah, there it goes up.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that makes no sense because pawn. I mean, I don't understand that move at all. I'm sorry. I mean, why would you play that move?
because it's very scary to...
It's scary, yeah. I mean, you got it, but I mean, surely now black has a number of, I mean, more than one way to get a major advantage now.
Yeah, his idea, I guess, after pawn takes pawn, hitting the white rook and hitting the white knight, is that the rook will move, capture black's knight. And after black makes a new queen, this is weird. I've never seen a double check with 2 different queens hitting the white king. Luckily, the white king can take 1 of the queens. And maybe the white king's surviving. Again, another check, but the king moves. It's just about, it's hanging by a thread, but I can't see a knockout blow here for black. So in the current position, I guess the reason he pushed his pawn to this square, sometimes he wants to support his bishop coming in with a counterattack, hitting the black king. But... yeah, I mean, firstly, what happens if you just take this pawn? OK, he takes with the queen, Magnus Carlsen.
Very nice.
And after a queen trade, which way is he going to take here? With his rook, with his pawn, or his knight? He takes with the knight.
Wow.
Lining up a discover check. If the black knight jumps out the way, this king is going to be in big trouble. Yeah, he's also won a pawn, Magnus, so he's attacking and he's a pawn up. But at least for Arjun, the queens are off, right? At least now the queens, there won't be as many checkmating threats to deal with.
I suppose he can move his bishop in with a check now. That could be a bit useful. So, Yeah, I mean, I was a bit critical of that move, but to be honest, it's such a hard position for White to play. I mean, we saw there are multiple checkmates. He has thrown the check in that White was facing. And at least now he's got a little bit of initiative, hasn't he? But he's attacking the pawn in centre. Magnus defends it. Well, there goes the initiative. But
Yeah.
at least he had it for half a move.
He had one threat, Arjun. It's blocked, and Magnus is just a pawn up. Also, this knight looks a bit weird, but it's probably just a strong piece. Yeah, it's hard to bet against the world #1 now. Extra pawn and a big advantage.
Yeah. It is looking very good for Magnus, but we do believe in Arjun's defences.
Absolutely, yeah.
He
But
has to be
4 minutes
resourceful.
left on the clock for Arjun Erigaisi. Oh, and here's the meme.
Here it is. Stay calm and play chess.
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite appropriate because he found the best defensive move.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jimmy.
I know what this is from. This is like, I think it was the Norwegian grandmaster who's on Twitter quite a lot. He said that Arjun is so calm, he would be calm during a nuclear attack. But I was kind of thinking maybe that's not very appropriate this time in current
true.
history. I mean, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Yeah.
Well, not
definitely.
wood, Kaja.
He has survived the storm that Magnus threw at his position, though. And it's just about the damage that's incurred long term.
Yeah.
Okay, retreating with the white knight. I like that move, actually. Just getting ready to jump into the centre later, if possible. Magnus still has a lot of work to do, to be honest.
Yeah, White's at least blockaded up the attack. Yes, he's a pawn down, but that knight is heading for a central square in quite a lot of positions. Maybe you can...
Retrieve that knight as well, the white knight. That black b3 pawn, the black intruder in the white half, that is actually unprotected. White knight could go for that pawn later. If that pawn drops, suddenly all three results once again possible.
Will that be a focus for Magnus in this move then, to find some way to protect his b-pawn?
Yep. I think Magnus will want to improve either his rooks or maybe improve the other black knight. The black knight in the white camp looks good. You don't necessarily want to move it. Commentator's curse, maybe jumping back with that knight is actually one of the best moves, but I would be very tempted to jump in with the other black knight as well. Just bring more pieces into the game.
Yeah, I like the way you think, David. It's very harmonious. And because I'm just looking at the one move threats, I'm like, yeah, let's set up a checkmate. Because after all, the white king is in a cage, especially created by that b3 pawn. So I was like, wow. Can I share it, David?
Yeah, of course.
So this is the idea that I have now. Okay, obviously white as well is playing, but I was thinking just line up the rook, two rooks on the C line, and then...
Say I make a move?
Yeah, and then I double up. And then the whole idea is that if you make a random move, then I wanted to put my knight on the very flashy square, knight to d4.
Wow.
No, that doesn't work. That's a terrible move. I don't know. This is okay.
So let's say last move I'd move my knight.
Yeah. Then it works.
And then rook takes, and you want to come down.
Yeah.
And the idea is basically the white king is weak on the back rank because it's kept caged by this black pawn, cutting off its escape squares. So maybe not in this exact way, but it's definitely going to be a theme for the next few moves. And Magnus, okay, he doesn't double up his rooks on the c file. Instead, he tries to change direction. And he challenges this white rook, which makes sense. It's on an open file. If we see a trade of rooks now, black's rook has a clear path into white's camp, to white's half.
Yeah,
Makes sense. Yeah.
This is a much better way to keep the white king caged.
Yeah.
I like it. This is Magnus showing us why he's the world champion.
Is Erigaisi in huge trouble now?
I mean, he's been in trouble for a while. I mean, I would say this is better than it was maybe a couple of moves ago. That's the only positive thing I can think of.
He can still hold the H-file, maybe, just defend his rook.
Yeah. One thing I noticed with this final is that, first of all, Magnus is looking a lot slicker. You know, he's done his hair up. You know, he's gelled it up. He's wearing a very smart jacket.
Yeah.
And he's really, you can see just his body language. He really wants to, I think, not just win this match, but, you know, just put some dominance on his opponent. And I think that's like when you have these young, brilliant players come through, like Arjan. And Magnus said he hasn't played him many times in the past. It's like, you've got to show how strong you are in your first couple of encounters. You don't want them to start getting their confidence up because they're only going to get better. And I think this is one reason we're seeing Magnus really dominating this match as well. It's not just Arjun's play, it's Magnus really wanting to exert his, you know, like the animal kingdom, isn't it? I am the lion, you know, I am going to...
of the jungle.
That's it, I'm the alpha, Magnus, you young lions coming through. You're not quite there yet. But anyway, some moves in the game here, David. Is there anything... Do you think changed much here?
I mean, it's interesting. I still think Black's doing very well, but at least White is going for that B pawn, and White's knight is ready to capture it in a moment. White's rook needs to move out of an attack first, and it's a bit of a dilemma for Arjun. If he kind of shifts his rook on the first rank, which he does, then it's still a passive piece. If he had brought it up the board, then the first rank would have been vulnerable later when Black's rook comes in. Now I'm expecting Magnus to start potentially going for White's pawns on the right half. But...
Yeah, I thought maybe his plan was to jump in with the knight, the second knight, and target the B2 pawn.
It's a beautiful checkmate for it. Can we, I mean...
Give me those cheapos.
I love
there.
it. I mean, one of my favourite checkmates is a knight checkmate, and
look at this.
This would be...
Double knight mate.
Oh,
and
so nice.
Checkmate.
Wow.
2 knights alone and a pawn trapping the White King. Whoa.
Yeah.
That is a unique threat. I guess Erigaisi will spot it. After the knight comes in, he'll spot that this is a threat. He'll capture the black pawn. But still, you maintain the threats, right?
Yeah, the rook comes down to the second row, and this was a big idea.
Yeah. I don't really see how to save this pawn, to be honest. You can take away one black knight, but the other knight replaces it. And still, this pawn attacked. I guess Erigaisi's only defense is to try and play for tricks, maybe move his king out the way. If the rook takes the pawn now, then there are ideas such as jumping away with the white knight. And the idea is to deflect this black knight to try and trick it to move because it's forced to defend its rook. Now, some saving chances, perhaps. Still looks pretty bad for White, but yeah, I mean, I guess this is what he's relying on. Magnus just weighing up, maybe looking for other moves, but this one looks good enough for some type of advantage at least.
Yes. And nice time advantage as well for Magnus at the moment with Arjun just in 2 minutes and 2.5 minutes.
Oh.
So, yeah, tough. I mean, if he loses this game, it's going to be so tough because we have to remind everyone that if Magnus wins the first 2 games, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over. So he's got White in the next game. If he wins that, it's completely finished.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And if Magnus wins this, yeah, Arjun will have to win 2 games against the world #1. That is a lot to ask.
And it will have to win a game with Black as well, you know, which makes it even harder. And we see, okay, so some...
So the B pawn is off.
B pawn is off, so Arjun can breathe a sigh of relief temporarily, but Black's rook is active, Black's knight's in the game. He's trying a similar trick to something we just showed, I guess. The White King moving out of the way, so instead of jumping in with this knight, he jumped back. There was a capture, the rook came in, attacking this pawn, and White's king moved. So again, rook takes pawn, may be met, for example, with a capture of the knight, and then a capture of this pawn, and Black's knight, forced to defend his rook, cannot really move. I mean, at the very least here, Black could just move his rook and probably just win a pawn at some point, but maybe Magnus looking for more in the current position. So this is the position. Does he take this pawn, or does he just, for example, go hunting on the other side of the board? You could make an argument for moving the rook and trying to capture this pawn, the base of White's pawn chain. If this pawn drops, then this pawn might drop, then this pawn might drop. Mopping up business.
Start from the back, that's what you said yesterday when taking pawns off.
Definitely. This one is the weakest one, so maybe start with that. That's the move I actually expect from Magnus right now. The other one just requires a bit of calculation and maybe it's good enough, but Magnus with 5 minutes. Okay, wow. Okay, this one I definitely didn't expect.
Was that on your radar, Simon?
You know what? I was thinking I want to play G5 and I want to get my king in behind it. So I was actually like, I thought it was too stupid to recommend. So I thought, I can't say that. I'll get laughed at, you know. But it's not so stupid to play that kind of idea. It's similar to what you mentioned there, David, of coming around towards those pawns, and it's the only piece which is not doing anything. And what is your opponent playing next? And this is the important thing that makes these kind of moves possible. Asking yourself, what is my opponent's next move? There's nothing that obvious that White can do at the moment.
No.
But it does seem slow. So, as well.
I mean, it's just, I think it's the surprise. The more we look at it, the more it looks great for Black still, right? Still this pawn eternally weak, this pawn very, very weak. And black's pawns all defended. Yeah, just looks very dominant.
Yeah, he's priming himself for maybe a rook and pawn endgame.
Oh.
And, OK, Erigaisi slides the rook 1 square. And can I share with you a question that we have from Mohammed Farah, who asks us, why are we all wearing black? Or is this just a coincidence? David is wearing dark navy, but Simon and me, we're in black.
All black.
I only wear black, is basically my answer. I don't own any other clothes that are not black.
And in black.
I'm just, I just love my black, you know, so my simple answer.
OK.
Yeah, so...
Now I had a choice today. I had a choice between like a burgundy or black, and I was like, go for black. And what I found also quite amusing was that Arjun is wearing white and Magnus is wearing black.
Ah,
yeah.
That was fun in Dubai World Championship match. Magnus would always wear the same color suit, I think it was, as the pieces he was playing with. So black suit and like a light beige one when he had the white pieces.
Yeah. Superstition, maybe.
Yeah, chess humor, even.
Yeah, and Magnus, meanwhile, has gone 1 pawn up. It didn't last for long. Erigaisi winning a pawn himself. And now I'm expecting one of the black knights to go and capture white's A pawn. You don't want to leave white's A pawn to survive, because it is a passed pawn. Go and take that one away. Clear pawn up.
Which knight would you capture that pawn with? Because I was going to suggest that I would take with the one on the second row, because then the 2 knights are not tied in some awkward construction, and Erigaisi moves up the rook 2 squares.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the threat is. Maybe the white rook wants to come across the board and start attacking those black knights, but Magnus does have a move or two before any threats happen to just re-coordinate his pieces. He doesn't look too happy, the world number 1. A bit frustrated, now changing position. It's funny, Simon, you mentioned kind of the looking slick, but when I studied medieval literature at university, there's common themes of warriors in battle and how before a big battle they groom, like there's this grooming ritual where they get their beards ready, they kind of they just make sure that they look good, they feel smart, they feel ready, and I think it's the same with chess. If you look professional, feel professional, then you play a lot better.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Wasn't the first chess piece, the Isla that was found, the oldest chess piece they found, the Isla Lewis one?
Yeah.
It has the berserker chewing on the shield, right?
Yeah.
So that's indicating that they used to take some substances before going into battle, right? I think so. You know,
other things, yeah.
Do you know,
yeah. So
I learned a very interesting fact about battles. When you have these kind of armed combats, I learned that the people who died were actually more often than not by accident. People went out there and they got guns or whatever, and they just shot them up in the air, and they're just like, they weren't aiming them at people. So, like, people didn't want to kill each other in the battles. And it was all just either done by accident, and it was all just like mayhem and confusion. But yeah, because I always thought it was like your Lord of the Rings type, you know, with Aragorn there killing orcs left, right and centre. No, it wasn't quite like that. There was not that much skill involved.
Maybe that's why they had to groom. They don't want their long hair to be caught on any weapons by accident. But I guess you also want to look intimidating to the enemy, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe that's part of the reason Magnus... I've seen it happen in big tournaments as well. He wants to look professional, and then his opponents are like, oh, he's come ready for business.
But you do this, David, as well. I've noticed, and a lot of top players, they say that they wear suit to play a game of chess because you've got to feel the part, and you want to feel good when you go into battle, and chess is a battle after all. OK, so we have some little tactics here. We can see White's idea with the rook was to try and activate it, but Magnus has now done a counter-attack with his rook, which seems like quite a clever idea, actually. And, well, black is a pawn up here, and it's just a matter of whether, I guess, he can convert this extra pawn. Do you think it's enough?
Feels like it should be.
It's Magnus.
Yeah.
It is, indeed.
Also, White's pawns are pretty weak. The black knights will start jumping in. And I guess you could start now. White's rook is attacking one of the black knights. Why not jump into the centre of the board? Magnus, he looks like he's a bit excited. He feels like he's seen a good move and he's going to play it. I don't really see any other move.
It seems very natural to use that knight to attack the rook. I mean, it's a lovely, lovely square for the black knight. You've also got central... I mean, this is... Okay. Yeah, there we go. I mean, why not? Just bring the knight into a beautiful square, and I guess if you can just get the other knight to a decent square, Okay, he's not even bothering. He's just trying to win a second pawn, which is now undefendable, and this is really bad actually for White. The problem is White is struggling to get any counterplay whatsoever, and the bishop is a terrible piece in such a structure because all the pawns are on one side of the board. I mean, it's a close range battle, and bishops don't really work very well in these situations. So he's trying to bring his rook now, at least to try to get that rook active, which seems like the best bet. But Magnus on the offensive as well with his pieces here.
Yeah, and there's like 2 knights that are sniffing around the white king as well. And then you have the rook on the optimal second row. It doesn't even feel that White can have the luxury of going on the offensive and trying to stir up some counterplay.
I mean, I think he's trying the right thing. He is trying to get counterplay in a desperate situation. Try to throw your pieces towards your opponent's king, but there's not any threats yet, and it is 3 black pieces near the white king, right? Yeah. Can black get the first mating net around on the board?
Exactly. I mean,
it's so close.
If you just move 1 knight in, the king is trapped. It literally has no moves. You just need to deliver 1 check, and it'll be game over. Meanwhile, if White gives a check, it's just 1 check, right? The king can move. Yeah. I don't see what Erigaisi is trying to do, to be honest.
Is he trying to bring his knight? Well, I mean, that doesn't work, but because you have knights covering. But I like your knight move, David, because you could be trying to use that knight to check and then bring the other one in.
Yeah.
Looks very close to checkmate. Might not quite be.
I think it... Well, if the white rook just leaves that line, say, for instance, it gives it... Yeah, who knows, somewhere. And then the other knight from e4 can take a step back and then attack the bishop, threaten...
Very nice.
Again, double knight, checkmate, the king trapped.
Looking at this position, I think one thing's becoming clear. What should Arjun do?
Yeah.
Resign. Just resign. Get the next game going.
Yeah.
It's not
that would be a hammer blow to his chances, losing with White. And again, Magnus, he plays these openings and they have poor reputations, right? Or dodgy reputations, and he just makes them look like part of a great master plan. It feels like Magnus has had a game plan all along, just kind of survive on one side of the board, then start going for the opponent's king. It's just kind of, it just has a start, a middle and an end, all of his games like this. And
this is another beautiful move, isn't it? Because he's actually just, that bishop, which we've mentioned, the white bishop, is a really bad piece. OK, you've got to check in. Yeah, well done. Well done, sir. Yeah, you know, and, well, he's giving up the bishop now. I mean, I don't think there's a checkmate threat here. I mean, there's not. I mean...
But it's even tempting just to ignore that bishop.
And checkmate instead.
And go for checkmate. After all, it ends the game.
It does.
There's one trap. If you move black's knight from the centre of the board, I think that would backfire seriously. I think white might even be winning. Or at least white would have... or actually, I was about to say white has very, very good chances of a counter-attack, but the more I look at it, actually, maybe not. So, he just gets greedy. Why not take a bishop?
Yeah, he puts it in the bank and rotates pawn, and the king takes a step backwards.
This seems to be a trend of Magnus. He always takes the pieces he can take.
Yeah, why not? Just put it in the bank and save it for later. And
surprised he didn't come forwards there. But, I mean, this also seems quite simple. And
good enough.
I mean, if white can't do anything in the rook and knight, then black is just going to win now. I mean, so white's got to try to use the rook and the knight to coordinate, but you can't actually get anything going with those 2 pieces here. The black king can always step forwards if it's checked, and there's nothing here at all. And
you have a couple of checks, but that's it. No checkmate. And only 2 attacking pieces.
I have a feeling. Well, no, not I have a feeling. Black is actually threatening to give a deadly checkmating threat.
Getting very close, isn't it, Jovanka? I mean, like, he's bringing that knight in.
It's coming.
And
I think it's time to, you know what?
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
He resigns. Arjun Erigaisi, super tough start to the final day. A loss means he now has to win 2 games to have any hopes of winning. What a great game by Magnus Carlsen. So here is today's Lisoveta Learning Point.
In In today's learning point, we're going to talk about pieces and we're going to talk about king placement. And here in this game, Erigaisi has committed the white king a bit too early. The white king is a clear target sitting on this side of the board. The white knight next to it also misplaced, taking away some escape squares, and Magnus took advantage of this. Meanwhile, note how Magnus's king is still sitting in the center. The middle of the board is blocked, so this is completely fine, and the black king is actually flexible, and it's harder to attack if you don't know which way it's going later. And Magnus now he seized a decisive advantage by going on the attack immediately. He jumped in with his knight, threatening checkmate, a checkmating attack with queen takes pawn. This was defended by white's queen, and now a really nice touch, adding extra fuel to the fire, just pushing a pawn. So black now attacking with a queen, a knight, a rook, and this pawn. And here Erigaisi slipped up. He didn't fall into the trap of a smothered mate. This would have been a nice checkmating pattern. He found a way to defend, but it wasn't the right way. Maybe throwing his knight as a defensive piece into the mix was best. Instead, he pushed forward with a pawn, and Magnus changed his advantage from an attacking dynamic one into a material advantage. He simply played queen takes pawn, and after a queen trade, we saw black had an extra pawn. He went on to convert this in a really nice endgame.
And a win for Magnus Carlsen in 13 minutes. Game 2, and Magnus will have the white pieces. If he wins it, the tournament will be over. He will be the winner. Now, already at 10 years old, Magnus Carlsen was a great chess player, and now we're going to see another celebrity charity chess challenge. He is a former Formula One driver for Williams and Mercedes. In 2016, he became the Formula One world champion, and after that he retired from the sport. Since, he's been engaged as an entrepreneur, especially in the fields of green technology, and as an ambassador for Julius Baer. He stands for the bank's engagement, especially when it comes to the fields of sustainability. And now, joining us, this is Nico Rosberg. Welcome to our chess show.
Hi to all of you. It's a pleasure to be part of it.
We're so excited to have you here and later to see you play chess. But first, Nico, what is your experience and relationship to chess?
So I really love the game, actually. I played it a lot when I was traveling in my Formula One times. Lately, actually, I've been playing more backgammon, but I still remember a couple of chess moves. So I look forward to playing Magnus as a 10-year-old very soon.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And is chess something that has been in your family for generations, just like Formula One was with your father, Keke Rosberg?
No, actually, my family really doesn't play chess at all. So it was really something that I discovered together with my friends already at school when I was a teenager. And it's something from time to time that I've always enjoyed playing a lot.
Fantastic. Now, Formula One, obviously a sport known for speed, cars up to, 300 kilometers an hour. It's dangerous, your life at stake, and it must be super important to stay sharp and focused. So is chess something you would use in your career to basically train the brain?
I don't think you can really compare the chess focus to the Formula One focus. But I really enjoyed chess just as a challenge in itself, to try and really think ahead a lot and be smart and present in the moment. It's just such an incredibly difficult and great game. So that's really the reason why I would enjoy playing a lot. And I used to play a lot with my trainer also when we were traveling for the races. So a lot of games we did there.
How cool. Would chess actually be something you would see around the grid when traveling around in Formula One?
Yeah, there was a lot of people playing chess, actually. Yeah, even Michael Schumacher, he was playing, and he was my teammate, for 3 years. So we had a couple of games, and so there was a lot of that in the time of F1.
Do you actually have a score against Schumacher? Do you know who won the most games?
Honestly, I can't remember, but it must have been me.
I agree. Magnus Carlsen, of course, he is the world champion in chess, just like you were a world champion in Formula One. What were the most important factors for you to be a champion in your sport?
Really, everything has to come together to be a champion in the sport. And I'm sure that's also how Magnus is doing it, So it's, first of all, it requires an extreme dedication, that you really dedicate your life to it, that you really apply a lot of focus to what you're doing. And that's what I did. I was really focused on my racing, but of course also on my family time and friends time, to have that balance, and to still be fresh, in the heat of the moment when it comes to battling out on the racetrack. And then covering all the other areas, working well with the engineers, understanding, studying the car, preparing physically, preparing mentally with a mental trainer, working with the media. So it's really every single area which you need to try and optimize and perfect, and that then allows you to be the best sometimes in your sport.
Yeah, interesting. And this is the Julius Baer Generation Cup. In chess right now, we are seeing sort of a shift in generation, some teenagers coming up and taking over. And I would love to hear your thoughts about Formula One as well. Are we seeing a generation shift there as well, with Sebastian Vettel retiring and your former teammate Lewis Hamilton losing the title last season to Verstappen?
Yeah, absolutely. I think also in F1 now there's quite a big generational shift happening because there's so many young superstars now coming through, and the list goes on. I mean, starting from Verstappen, Leclerc, George Russell, Lando Norris. There's so many great new drivers that are coming on the scene and who are doing so well and really giving the last generation really a tough run at the moment with, like, for example, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel. They're trying to hang in there, you know, but the young generation is really strong. As we saw last year, it went down to the last lap, the whole season, with Lewis Hamilton and Verstappen fighting it out on the last lap in an incredible battle of the generations.
Yeah.
So I think it's very comparable to chess.
Fantastic. And now we're going to have a little bit of a battle between generations. You're going to play Magnus Carlsen at 10 years old in the Play Magnus app. So you're going to have 2 minutes on the clock, Nico, and the goal will be to beat Magnus Carlsen, of course, but he was a genius at the age of 10, so at least last as many moves as possible before being checkmated on the board or losing on time. And Julius Baer is going to donate $100 per move you last to a great organization called Chess in Slum. So how have you been preparing for this challenge?
I've been studying night and day, but you're also underestimating me here. Huh? You're calling Magnus a genius at 10, but you didn't even speak about my skills here.
I can definitely imagine that you have some incredible skills against Magnus. What's going to be your strategy to try to beat him?
No, honestly, I don't know. I will try to do my best now and see how it goes, and it would be great to see his level of play at that age.
And we have Grandmaster David Howell here in the studio. He is one of very few people who has been able to beat Magnus at 10. So what is your tip for Nico, David?
A few tips, Nico. Magnus at 10 years old, he was a trickster. He was very, very aggressive. So just make sure that you put your pieces on safe squares. If you can attack him, he doesn't like to defend so much. But yeah, other than that, speed is good. Good luck.
All right, so are you ready, Nico?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for the tip, David. And attacking I'm pretty good at from my sport, so I'll go for that then.
Perfect. Sounds good.
We have a perfect strategy. And here is the Play Magnus Celebrity Charity Chess Challenge. And let's see what the first move is for
Right,
Nico Rosberg.
I'm going for the first move then, yeah?
You make the first move, yes. I wonder if it's going to be a pawn move. Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah, looks like a queen's pawn opening. Nico playing the moves very fast already. Okay, Magnus challenging in the center.
Careful.
Nico looks surprised there. Okay, very solid. Good start.
Careful.
You see that he's played some chess, David?
Yeah, he's definitely played a few games before. Good, solid setup. Perfect play so far in the opening. I like how he's talking to himself, motivating himself, trying to give himself some energy here. Okay, he spotted a big threat there. He captured back in the center.
He's running away. Do you see that? He's running back already. I am on fire here.
Magnus, is he scared?
It's time to attack.
Now I need to be careful here. Running out of time.
Okay, great move though. Pieces centralized on good squares, good solid squares. Oh, he's going forward. He's been playing very quick as well, Nico, so far. Around 10 moves played. He's still got 1 minute 20 on his clock. We'll most likely see an exchange now. Is he going to take that bishop back? He does, very quickly.
And towards the center.
Yeah, really good game so far.
Oh, man. My brain is on fire here because of the time running out. there's not enough time. That's the problem. Okay, well, let's just go for it.
Yeah, the pressure gets to all of us, even...
Not that I know what I'm doing at this point, but it doesn't matter.
even world champions.
Okay, let's give it a go here. See what we can achieve.
He's great at taking fast decisions, I have to say.
David said attack is the best way forward, so let's do it.
Yeah, he's attacking, following the advice.
Absolutely do it. Where can he go? He can go there, there, there. There, try to go there.
Okay, great move, defending against the biggest threat. A pawn was attacked, he's defending, but...
He's done the switch. I'll do the switch as well.
He needs to play faster. Nico, 45 seconds now. And
okay,
Magnus
and
is
now...
attacking.
Oh, I'm in trouble now. I'm in big trouble now.
He senses the threats.
I'm in big trouble.
Speed, Nico.
Oh, let's take him out.
Great move again. So far, still no blunders, still no mistakes. Go forward, attack that queen.
Little less than 30 seconds on the clock.
Big trouble, running out of time.
Okay, he has one eye on the clock. He's aware of the time situation.
Come on. Running out of time.
He needs to move. He needs to get that money donated.
Time, running out of time.
As the black queen.
So much.
He went into the black half. He is attacking, but he needs more momentum. 2 or 3 more moves, Nico. You can do it.
You can do it.
Under 10 seconds.
5
seconds. He's going forward. Still great play. Just all about the speed. The white queen's attacked. Move her. 1 second.
Yikes,
0.
Yikes.
Runs out of time.
David, come on. That was not too bad, no?
That was really good. Actually, until the last move, you had a balanced position, equal chances. You went on the attack as well a few times. I can't fault the moves. It was just the time, just the clock.
And Nico, if you press continue, we will see how many moves you lasted. To see
You lasted 18 moves.
18 moves.
Euros. $1,800.
Fantastic. That is a massive donation to Chess in Slums. And Nico, you played some impressive chess there. You did not get checkmated by world champion Magnus Carlsen. That must mean something.
No, it wasn't even close to getting checkmated. Magnus was actually on the ropes. He was getting really scared at the moment. I just ran out of time. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, I think it was a fair try. Come on.
Definitely. David, what's your verdict on this game by Nico?
Nico, I can tell you've played before, and yeah, I mean, that was a great effort. We've had some celebrities, some famous names playing against this challenge, and they struggled much more than you did. So yeah, you made Magnus scared. I agree.
What
was the most moves so far from another celebrity?
We've been up to 40, but I have to say that was someone who plays a little bit of chess. So 18 moves is very good.
Okay. Okay, that's good.
Yes. I can see you're very competitive, like a true athlete. And Nico, it's been a pleasure to see you play chess. I want to finish off asking you, what is next for you? Because we know you're an ambassador for Julius Baer. You work a lot in the fields of sustainability and green technology.
Yeah, actually, I'm doing my own startup event because I'm really enjoying the whole startup landscape, the challenges there, meeting the really fascinating founders. So I'm bringing together a lot of founders from Germany, like especially in the early stage rounds where they're just starting up, connecting them, with the funds, and that's something I'm enjoying, and that's coming up now, which I'm organizing. And so that's one thing which I enjoy. And of course, a lot of them are involved in green technologies because that's something that I focus on, so sustainability. So that's a cool project.
Fantastic. We love to hear that. Nico, thank you so much for taking the challenge, and congratulations with a great result against Magnus Carlsen.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
That was it. Recorded a few days ago. Managed to last 18 moves against Magnus Carlsen. Nico Rosberg, a former Formula 1 world champion. What a great game. What a great game Magnus Carlsen played in his first game in the second match against Arjun Erigaisi. Now up by 1 point with 3 rapid games to go in this second match. If Magnus wins game 2, he will be the winner of the Julius Baer Generation Cup. Arjun Erigaisi, he needs at least a draw, and he needs to win 2 games to have any hope of winning the tournament. He is ready, but Magnus will have the white pieces. Do you expect him to go for the kill in this game, David?
Judging from the way he played this first game today, it feels like Magnus is out for blood. He starts with the English opening. Yeah, we saw yesterday in the final game, in game 3, when Magnus only needed a draw. He played very passively, played for the draw. He was significantly worse after the opening. So I think Magnus, he's trying to make amends for that. He's now He's definitely not chosen a passive opening. It's the King's Indian defence. Magnus occupying the centre with all his pawns. And what will he choose now? It's difficult to just kill the game against the King's Indian. It's difficult to go straight for a draw. It's likely going to be very tense. I like this opening choice from Erigaisi as well.
Yeah, I like this choice as well. You know, it is combative, it is dynamic, it is everything he needs. And, well, it's putting a question mark on Magnus, because what is he going to play? Is he going to try to play a solid variation? Is he perhaps going to just accelerate the battle and play something very aggressive? We will see. You know, bearing in mind a draw is quite a good result, then he would be half a point away from securing the tournament victory.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had this against Aronian, didn't he, in the last competition where he played the main line, which is bringing the other knight out. And that was a very, very exciting game where he actually sacked a queen in the end to get victory. And he's gone for an older, well, I say older variation, the same-ish variation, which is a very decent line as well. But that little pawn move that Magnus played, I remember it was Gufeld, a Russian grandmaster who loved playing this position as black, who said, "What a move, you can't play this move, where's the white knight going to go?" He really wasn't a fan of this, but it is, of course, a good line. And it should be fun, this game, because all the pieces are going to remain on the board, and black's now got to decide what pawn he's going to push. And there's normally a choice of two here, isn't there, really, David, that he can try to go for.
Yeah, normally black pushes a pawn, either the black e-pawn or c-pawn, to challenge white's centre. You can't allow white to just maintain the central pawn structure forever and then slowly develop pieces behind. You need to fight for squares, fight for space. And Jovanka, have there been many games in this?
Many games. And I can tell you that this particular variation seems to be a firm favourite of the computers. So we've got Leela Chess Zero playing this, another one called Rofcard, I don't know how to pronounce it, Stockfish 14, Stockfish 15 has tried it, Komodo Dragon. So we've got a lot of high-level games. Remember, I love their ratings. These computers have ratings of like 3,809.
Oh, my. Oh, wow, 3,809.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Above perfect, then.
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yep. Decent rating.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we do see one of your pawn pushers, Simon, and Magnus immediately blocks up the centre. White can't let things open up because White's lacking in development. White's king still several moves away from castling. And it's a nice pawn chain for White, but Black, I'm expecting to chip away at that pawn structure again. Just first kicking back White's bishop. White's bishop is happy to actually lose time, and now Arjun trying to open the centre.
All mainline theory, this. I mean, I remember playing this line as White it was a long time ago, at least 20 years ago. It was one of my favourite variations, but Black does get a lot of counterplay, so this is a good choice from Arjun, who really needs to win, has to win one of the games of Black to have any chance, so he's picked the right opening. And there's many moves that Black can try here to gain counterplay, but first of all, he develops his knight, which is coming towards the centre, and again, this is all pretty known theory so far. And the white knight now coming back around, so both sides developing pretty normally.
Yeah. My understanding, though, was that this knight move that Arjun has made was slightly inaccurate.
True.
And the reason is because of Magnus's move, because that knight really wants to be, the white knight, sorry, really wants to be on the f2 square.
It's a good point,
Yeah.
Jovanka, well spotted, and we saw that Magnus in his last game eliminated that knight with his bishop, but Arjun can't do that because he's blocked it. So it's a good point. And now the white knight gets his ideal square. First of all, you have to stop Black's plan. Always look what your opponent's last move is. Always try to work out what they're trying to do. And of course, he doesn't stop it because I've said that. And actually, Matthew Sadler used to play this way with the white pieces. Famous English grandmaster who's well known for his computer expertise. And I do believe his chessball course is on sale at the moment. You should check it out. It's a brilliant course. But, yeah, this is interesting, though, David, allowing Black to now push on the queen side.
Can I just... Oh, yeah, David's got it highlighted.
Sorry. Go on, Jovanka.
Right. No, I was... I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, so just to backtrack a couple of moves. In this position, White, after the black pawn push, White could not actually take this pawn. It looks like a free pawn here. It's defended by the queen, but Black now has a nasty tactic. Black's knight can jump out the way, capture a pawn, hitting the white queen, and when this knight is captured, the black queen can sweep in with a check. also hitting the white bishop. So, for example, here, black takes the white bishop, and black has full domination over the dark squares. And Magnus, instead of taking this pawn, jumped back with his knight. So now the queen coming out would never be a check along this diagonal. So this pawn was finally threatened. So black didn't have time to commit and push his pawn. So we saw, let's catch up with the game position. It's all about this pawn break. Magnus has castled in the meantime. And black's trying to force this one through, as you mentioned earlier, Simon. If he gets this pawn push...
If he gets that pawn push, he gets quite a lot of play. Yeah, I missed he couldn't do that earlier situation. But also, if you compare the development of both sides, you can see that white has cleared his first rank. So all the white knights and bishops are sitting nicely. On the other hand, black hasn't managed to do that because he's got this light squared bishop, which is a real pain in this variation for black because it can't often find a good square. But he has got a mini positional threat now, which Magnus needs to think about how to deal with. Does he allow black to play this move, or does he try to hold it up somehow? Yeah. Would you try to stop that one, or prepared to meet it with some counter-attack?
Yeah, that's a good question, Simon. Usually there's two strategies, right? One, you either just push a pawn forward and you say, OK, if you march forward, I'll capture you en passant. But here it's always unclear, right, whether capturing en passant actually helps. For example, black's rook can recapture, and this pawn is just as weak as any of black's pawns. It's not clear who this really helps long term. For example, the black knight can always jump forward later on and start trying to jump into the centre. I'm not sure I would go for this. I'm always hesitant unless I can guarantee that black gets no counterplay to push this pawn.
I think I'd be very tempted to swap dark square bishops off here. I mean, with white. Yeah. I mean, to try and start targeting black's king.
Me too. And I just wanted to point out that there's one game in my database between two players at the Danish Open, and there white chose a different plan, which was actually to slide the rook one square across, and the whole idea is to meet the pawn push with a counter push.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the Sadler plan that I was mentioning earlier. I remember Matthew Sadler used to do this time and time again, and actually he got the initiative on the queen side from doing this plan. But I also like what Magnus has done. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense to annoy black's position with this bishop move.
Yep, the queen attacks, and one thing you definitely don't want to do is block with a pawn, because now, even if the bishop steps back where it came from, suddenly black's piece is completely blocked in, and you've also weakened some squares in the middle of your camp. Knowing my luck, he'll probably play this move now after I said it's the one thing you definitely don't want to do. But usually in this position, with your queen hit, you either block. For example, you could potentially block with your dark squared bishop, but this accelerates white's plan of trading these bishops anyway. I think that's what Magnus wants to achieve. The other move here, the alternative would be to move the queen. But again, the queen looks a bit clumsily placed. Not too many squares for her. What would you do here, Simon, Jovanka, with the queen hit if you're in Arjun's shoes?
It's a tricky one. I mean, I might decide that I have to block with a bishop here because I don't like the alternatives. But as you mentioned, white generally wants to exchange off the dark square bishops for a couple of reasons. Number one, black's dark square bishop, that one highlighted, is cutting all the way across the board, so it's generally got great range. And also, it's the only defender, really, of black's king. So later on, if you can get rid of that bishop from the white perspective, black's king becomes a little bit more of a juicier target to attack slowly. Well, generally with this pawn push that David has shown, this is the main way to get through the centre and towards the black king. So it's already a very tricky decision for black to make. How do you deal with it? And he has done a very understandable move there as well.
Yeah, just got his queen out of the way, and OK, Magnus, after misplacing the black queen, now he insists on a bishop exchange. This bishop exchange is pretty much guaranteed because if the black bishop runs away from this exchange, then the rook falls behind it. So yeah, Magnus, he's getting that strategic goal that he's been craving for a while now, getting black's best minor piece, at least, off the board. Consistent strategy.
Yeah, it's consistent, and it's a tense position. Well, anything can happen right now. And whilst Arjun is thinking, I want to share with you a few pictures. The first one comes courtesy of Saad Alamad, who says, guess whose T-shirt is this one? Wait for it. It's a good one. Here it is.
Oh, wow.
Oh, there we have it! Yay!
Like it.
Simon approves. I approve. I want that one actually.
Very
in
nice.
black. White is not my colour. And Ariane Illigan also shares with us a picture and says Lord of the Boards. Wait for it. It's a good one too.
Lord of the Boards.
Lord of the Boards, and here we are. You are Galadriel, Kaja.
Oh.
I can't remember the name of the brown-haired elf.
Who the hell am I? who is that person?
That's the dwarf.
Oh, right, yeah.
Gimli.
Is it Gimli?
And
Gimli, yeah.
then we have David.
That's Frodo, isn't it?
Frodo, yeah.
Frodo Baggins. Hello, Frodo.
Where's my sound?
Love this for Ariane.
Shouldn't you have been Gandalf, Simon?
Maybe, yeah. Yeah,
But then it doesn't look like him.
I always thought Frodo was quite annoying, actually.
Oh, thanks, Simon.
only in that. Yeah, you don't deserve to be. Oh, here we go. I'm going to try and dig a hole now. That's why David should not be Frodo, because David is a pleasure to be next to. Who would you say? Who would you like to be, David?
In Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, if you could pick one character.
Aragorn.
Aragorn, yeah, he's pretty cool, isn't he? Yeah. And I think you're more of an Aragorn character.
I don't know. I'd love to be.
But
What about
Frodo has the most important role.
Yeah,
He's the ring bearer.
Yeah, he
To
does.
sit in
It's true.
the-
It's true.
maybe. But my feet aren't as hairy as his, I should mention.
Has he got hairy feet?
Hobbits do, no?
Yeah, they do.
That's their thing.
Oh, right, yeah.
Okay. This has been...
Well, thank you very much for sending us your pictures. And if you too want to send us your tweets, your pictures, your selfies, your thoughts, who you're cheering for, then please tweet us using the hashtag #ChessChamps, and we will feature them on the show.
You might have to speed up doing that, because if Magnus wins this game, the tournament is over. The bar is definitely over to his side, and he has definitely more time on the clock than Arjun as well.
Yeah, and Arjun's... Yeah, he's really asking for trouble with his last couple of moves. He traded off the dark squared bishops. I'm surprised he did it on white's terms. Look at that white queen. Yeah. So close to the black king. Feels like trouble.
I mean, you could move the knight back around here. I mean, try to, white could just go for checkmate here. There's one idea, but there's many tempting things going on here.
Yeah. This is a monster threat, bringing the knight in and then sliding the white queen up. Trapping the king. Checkmate.
Yeah, this is dangerous.
I guess.
Look at the valuation bar as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, white traded pawns first, so another option is to even slide this rook in first, trying to go this angle. But yeah, the evaluation part, this means that white is winning. Magnus has a winning idea. What is it? Okay.
I was thinking push the pawn.
Yeah, Jovanka, you're right. The computer Stockfish confirms, as we see in front of us, top 3 moves. This is number 1, pushing a pawn, and the idea, Jovanka.
Go forward, or even you might want to go a la Simon and play bishop takes pawn just to explode open. But my first reaction, that pawn goes all the way. It's a wrecking ball.
I mean, both pawns are very tempted to push, aren't they? There, you could even push the one right in the centre and bring a knight in behind it. This is a very common idea. Will he find this move? I mean, it's not.
I think he will.
Yeah, he's pretty good, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think the reason this is so strong is because the move we quite liked, Simon, which is the second best computer option, also very natural. I think this might allow the black queen to come into the centre, and when we threaten checkmate, the black queen can swoop back and defend. Queen exchange, probably white's still doing quite well, but no checkmate. This move, it just stops the queen coming over to the defence of her king.
Okay.
He doesn't go for it, Magnus. He plays one of the computer's top choices. We see there that was the 3rd choice by Stockfish, using the white rook. Also looks very good, to be honest. Also maybe the most, or one of the most natural moves in the position. Clear threat. The knight is undefended, but...
This might be winning a pawn, mightn't it? It might win a pawn on the queen side, but sometimes that gives black counterplay. It's very hard now for black to hang on to the pawn he pushed forwards.
Yeah. So, for example, OK, he does push forward.
Oh, wow.
For example, if the rook had blocked, we would have seen an exchange, and as Simon mentioned, this pawn just drops. White would take it, defended by the bishop. Instead, he's going a pawn down in a different way, pushing this guy. Maybe this is just the best of a bad bunch, like the lesser evil. The knight will drop. White's knight will also drop, but white wins a pawn at the end. White wins the black pawn, pawn up, and with a potential attack. Still looks good. Not winning on the spot. The tournament isn't over yet. But, yeah, Arjun on the ropes.
Wow. Another game. Magnus just playing fantastic chess.
just been this one's been a difficult opening for Arjun, but he needed to take risks. He knows he's almost in a must-win situation. So we can't fault Arjun's opening choice. But Magnus, he's just so well prepared. And I saw a quote by, I think it was Peter Lecco, and he was saying, yeah, it's just Magnus, he has a game plan. We mentioned many times he plays every opening under the sun, but he chooses specific openings that target each opponent's weaknesses. So if he knows his opponent is in a must-win situation, he'll provoke them or he'll just shut down the game. If he knows they like passive positions, he'll go aggressive. If he knows they like attacking, he'll just shut them down, frustrate them.
Is he the expert in using psychology, basically?
Yeah, exactly. He just cherry picks his openings because he knows pretty much everything. And he knows all these little details, these little nuances. He's just so good at cherry picking his openings.
Yeah. And, well, his chess knowledge is spectacular, I have to say. And incidentally, I saw on Facebook, I've forgotten the name of the Spanish Grandmaster, so you'll have to forgive me, but he was talking about, you know, that 93-move endgame that he played with Vincent Keimer? Apparently a very, very similar, almost identical position had happened in a Kasparov-Karpov match in 1986. And Kasparov gave a recommendation in his book, like, what was the best plan? And, and Magnus basically did that plan.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's one level. The youngsters in this tournament, the teenagers, they've impressed so much, but that's one area they just can't compete yet. They just don't have... I mean, they haven't been playing chess long enough to accumulate all that knowledge.
I just remember the Grandmaster's name. It's Magnus Dublin. So, yeah, I have to give credit where it's due.
Yeah. It's one thing, like, you know, seeing these games and remembering them, but it's another thing keeping them in your long-term memory, you know, because it's very easy when you're preparing for a tournament, you can learn an opening idea, you can learn an idea, but recalling that information 5 years later, I think nearly everyone struggles, except for some of these amazing elite players. They seem to be able to, they have fantastic memory, and Magnus is known to have this amazing recall about the things he's picked up, basically, you know, real skill.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Arjun's rook has gone to the second row. I think this is good news. I mean, the pity is that the rest of the pieces are quite passive, but, you know, you've got to be optimistic. And you were talking about memory and perhaps life skills, Simon, and we have a question from Kent Lefgren, who says, could chess skills and knowledge improve your strategic thinking skills off the board, i.e. in real life?
I mean, yeah, I guess they can. I mean, they don't necessarily correlate, but you can certainly learn skills in life that you learn in chess. I mean, you know, for example, patience, planning is something that you need in chess, and you can obviously take that through to business or other areas. You know, if you're starting a business or you're planning about just how to improve yourself, really. And David, I would have thought there's many sort of other things that can be relevant as well. Yeah,
just general decision-making, weighing up the pros and cons, evaluating certain kind of things in life, I guess. But you're right, Simon, there's plenty of actual chess players who, they start young, they play chess, but then they gravitate towards business or towards, I mean, other fields, finance, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, finance was a big one, wasn't it? In England, there was many players going back probably 20 years who became international masters, grandmasters. So they're the best chess players, but then they turned those skills to mainly finance and banking. And I think most of them all became millionaires by using those skills. So it's definitely helps, I think, yeah.
We chose the wrong career path, clearly.
You know, I remember a few years back in the UK, they had this kind of big national IQ test that they did on TV. And I remember that I was especially bad at the logic and the maths. And their recommendation for improving these skills was play chess. And I was like, that stung.
That's just harsh.
It was.
Yeah, I think there's some transferable skills, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you know, it's all positive. I struggle in real life from perfectionism as well, and indecision. Sometimes, just like in chess, there's so many options. I spend so much time on the clock. I'm the same in life. Decisions are hard.
Yeah.
You don't want to overthink too much in life. That's my
Well,
tip.
so easy to get decision fatigue. I'm there with you, David. And it's a question for Eric Gaisi how to improve his pieces, and there he centralizes his queen.
Yeah, very natural. It comes with the threat. Black's queen is attacking White's undefended c-pawn. Computer doesn't like it.
Oh, no.
I'm not really sure why. I don't see the refutation yet, but maybe it's just the fact that this queen is on a vulnerable square. Once the threat is dealt with, for example, if White defends this pawn, White's queen can even come back if really necessary. White's queen could come the whole way back to the first rank, defend everything, kick away the black rook. Maybe... OK, there we go.
Yeah. And maybe then the pawn is ready to push, so Black has to keep the threats going. Yeah. And, you know, White would love to push that pawn, attacking the queen, which we saw earlier, but not in this position, because it would lose a big pawn, so...
Maybe you can do it anyway, Simon. Maybe this is the reason the evaluation bar likes White so much, because even in endgame, we talked about going for checkmate, but now we can switch focus, and if we kick the queen, if she moves after an exchange, maybe White can just go pawn hunting. In this type of structure, which resembles what we call a Benoni defence, it started as the King's Indian, then this is always the weakness. Again, the base of the pawn chain, and I can't see how to defend it.
That looks really strong. Yeah, I mean, combined with this, the central pawn coming forwards, that's... I mean, if Black's not actually threatening to take that pawn, then it's really bad news for Arjun, and Magnus slowing down. OK, he's gone for a little bit safer option, but that knight's also on quite a good route, and the pawn is still ready to come forwards. But I like your move, David. Your move looked even stronger.
Yeah, I mean, Magnus just not in the mood to take any risks. Understandable. This pawn move might happen later. And as you say, the white knight, this is normally the dream square in this structure because it will later hit. The biggest weakness in the black camp. Takes a while, but Magnus has that luxury. He's just a pawn up, essentially, in this position and full control. Eric Gaisi, it just feels like he's caught Magnus at the worst possible moment. Magnus just on fire. The whole tournament.
Incredible. He hasn't lost... Well, he lost one game to
Aronian.
To Aronian, except from the one against Niemann.
Yep.
Incredible.
Yeah. And, OK, we like this move, right, Simon?
We always like this move.
Sorry, my arrows. This move, sorry. The black pawn pushing. Yeah. Trying to cause some kind of confusion, but...
Problem is you don't have much backup with any other piece except for your queen, and the black queen is sort of, OK, sitting on a pretty bad square as well.
So to get kicked, right?
She is. But, you know, black does have one thing. Hope.
Yep.
It's the hope that kills you, Jovanka. It's the...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. You've got to be positive. Magnus does play this move. The most natural of the queen is forced somewhere. Does she go this way, where she's not really doing too much? Does she step back this way?
Yeah.
Just
feels like,
I feel that he has to just make some kind of vaguely active move with the queen. I think if he sounds the retreat, that's just going to inspire Magnus to carry on. I mean, at least pretend to threaten something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a nice idea, but you can't even pretend. That's the problem. I mean, you've got to move the queen nearly all the way back. I mean, if you move it over here, it gets hit by the bishop or something, it has to go back, and it has to go back again, and all your other pieces are back-ended already. So it's...
be forced into the corner, and then...
It's omni-shambles.
For example, something like this, Simon, what do you think of this position for black? All pieces.
Yeah, I mean,
trying to set the board back up to the start.
It's you know,
that's the type of thing that's happening in the current position.
Yeah,
it's just disaster, unfortunately, for Eric Gaisi.
Magnus has been such class, though. I mean, you know, we shouldn't be too hard on Arjun, because it's just been the Magnus show, hasn't it? He's played fantastic chess, not taking any risks, but just playing good moves, various different openings, which is nice to see as well. And he's not giving his opponent chances. That's a really important thing. You know, he doesn't give chances away. He's always putting the ball in the back of the net. Where's the queen going? OK, it's as good a square as any, I feel, this one. And there's a lot of tempting ideas here. Do you improve your pieces here again? Or do you try to push in the centre very quickly? Or maybe that rook move that you said, David? There's so many moves, isn't there? I think he's just improving his pieces here.
He is.
Yeah.
I did like your rook, David's rook move.
He looked quite tempting.
It looked very tempting, especially because it eyed up the queen. But okay, Magnus's move is great, you know. The knight is threatening to jump forward to the g4 square, attack the queen. And once again, that pawn push is in the horizon. And it's not just that pawn push, it's that target on d6 as well.
Yep. Even if black wasn't a pawn down, even if you could kind of give black an extra pawn, I don't know, somewhere on the A file, for example, I think white just has some long-term strategic advantage anyway. So you give him material strategic advantage. At some point later, that will transform into a direct attack, quite likely, against the black king.
I mean, you could even be tempted to sacrifice a pawn. I mean, as white in these positions.
Blow things open in the centre.
This is a very, very normal idea in this structure, and one you should probably be aware of if you're playing this kind of pawn structure, which does come about in the Benoni, King's Indian defence, and this pawn with the knight coming to that square is the real sort of key. What a beautiful square that knight would gain there. Maybe it's not necessary. I don't think he'd play this if there's something safer, because you have to give up a pawn. Why do that? Keep it simple. But again, it could just be killing as well at the right time.
You're right. It's the one to look out for. If it works, then it nearly always gives a massive advantage in these types of structures, right?
Yeah.
I mean, here you'd have to do some calculating. This is what Magnus is maybe thinking right now. If the pawn is captured, knight jumping, can the black queen take this pawn, for example?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it's hanging together by a thread for black. Okay, he plays it.
He's playing it.
So he's very confident that the tactics are working in his favour. And
so
if it works, this could be the end.
Maybe we can run through that line again then.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't take this pawn, you might as well just resign.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be pawn down and being steamrolled, bulldozed in the centre. And, OK, white's not jumping in. I mean, you could make an argument for jumping this way as well.
Yeah, definitely, because the black queen... Does it have to go back to its starting square, which you pointed out, David? We were joking about this, but then the white pawn in the centre comes forwards. This is just an absolute... That looks really strong, the knight going that way as well.
Yeah, I think maybe this is the easiest way. If you go the other way with the white knight, then because there's you've blocked up the e-file, at least black can take here, potentially. I mean, to be honest, I still see a few scary ways for white to continue, but... Yeah, I mean, if you go the other way, queen takes pawn is no longer possible due to a pin, and the black rook would fall.
Oof, he's gone all the way back.
He's gone all the way back immediately.
Do you know what you should have done, David? I think you said it. Just resign.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, it's that point of the game now. I mean, if you're Magnus, worst comes to worst, you take a pawn here. You have to deal with your rook. Magnus will want to do something more flashy. Again, worst comes to worst, you retreat your rook, or maybe even move it this way. If you want to keep it safe, but Magnus might be looking for more direct options. I mean, other ideas that come to mind would be, for example, taking this knight and then throwing a pawn forward in the centre, trying to break through to the black king on this way. White can push this pawn next to open up the white queen's diagonal. White's knight is coming into the centre. Ugh, it just looks... I mean, you're spoilt for choice here. What would you guys be thinking? How would your thought process go?
I would probably look at just pawn takes pawn, first of all, because I'm going to be 2 pawns up, and if that keeps my initiative going, then why not just, you know, win another pawn and keep attacking, you know? That would be my first thought.
They're not bad pawns, are they?
I mean,
so many squares.
And they're extra pawns, both of them. So that would be maybe the simple solution. And I think, like, you know, just in case I miscalculate something, simple is good.
I guess, yeah, whether you just decide to play something later, at least if you work out this one, you have it as a backup plan. And yeah, I guess also very safe, just move the rook. The only problem is burning a lot of time on the clock when you have 4 or 5 very, very nice options, but Magnus has plenty of time, so he doesn't have to worry about that. For now, extra 3 minutes on the clock, an extra 2 pawns on the board potentially. Okay, he drops back with his rook, also understandable. Hitting this pawn now. Again, Erigaisi has to capture in the centre, otherwise he's just going to be 2 pawns down for free. And this is another idea, Simon, you mentioned, very typical, very thematic in this type of scenario.
He's
blast
moving in for the
open
kill.
the king side.
Yeah, and the queen is now the white queen. Look at that diagonal, which you pointed out there, that it can just fly in, maybe with a knight coming in, the rook, the bishop, everything.
The queen.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this is over.
For example, pawn takes pawn. Suddenly Erigaisi's a pawn up, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm wondering how we finish this. I guess we jump in with the white queen first of all. Yeah. As you say, the white knight can jump in. The white rook is...
You're threatening rook g6.
Can I?
d6 is beautiful.
Oh, I wanted to show
Oh,
that.
sorry, yeah. Sorry, Jovanka.
For
It has a
example,
name.
Yeah. Does it? Crisscross?
No,
No. Bowden's mate?
it begins with B. David knows it.
do I?
He got it right.
Not Bowden's
He
mate.
got it right. Magnus got it wrong.
So
remember
let's
the-
just show it on the board. This would be a check, pawn takes, and
We might see it, David.
we are seeing this threat on the board at least. This would end in checkmate. The bishop hits the king, the queen cuts off the king on this diagonal. I don't know, B.
I thought it was Bowden's mate with the two bishops.
It is.
Oh.
Balestra checkmate.
Balestra, yes, that's right. It does ring a bell. So in this position, this was the massive threat. Rook across check from white, and Arjun has defended. He's prevented that with his knight coming back. The knight is covering the square.
But maybe it's time to bring the white knight in now. I mean, there's so many moves there.
Guys, you know I was joking about putting all black's pieces on the back rank.
Yes.
It's actually happened again.
Oh, dear.
All of his pieces. This is backs to the wall, park the bus. This is park the bus defending, literally. And it won't work out well. The rhyme does go knight and f8, there's no mate, but I think we'll see an exception to that rule.
I mean, the white queen might even step back one square, allowing the white rook to cut. There's so many, many moves that are just floating in the position. Bring the knight in. I mean, so many tempting moves there, and he's just spending his time.
Bring the knight in.
Don't get excited. This is one thing that is very easy to get carried away. Get excited. This is also very strong. I was thinking get ready to push the pawn forwards, but it's
ready to push, and then this bishop will come to life.
Or there's a queen check as well.
That's even more deadly.
And the funny thing is, not one of black's pieces can come to the aid of black's king.
Yeah.
Yep, the evaluation bar finally realises how deadly this attack is. And as Jovanka mentions, this piece, wrong side of the board, queen cut off, can't participate, the rook stuck. The knight's doing a good defensive job at least, but it's defending alone.
Yeah,
this is the last few moves of this tournament.
X-rated stuff here, you know.
That's brutal, unfortunately.
It is.
Magnus in killer mode. You know, he's just relentless. He really is not stopping here. And if we had any doubt that Magnus would slip up, he has come in today in an absolute fighting mode. He is the beast.
I mean, yesterday he was critical of his play. Can he even be that today? Has there been any flaws at all?
I mean, we know he's self-critical and we know he has extremely high standards for himself, but I don't think we can... I think we need to call him out if he's critical of himself.
Please jump in if he doesn't, David.
I think if any of us played a game like this, we'd be like, oh, best game of our career.
Yeah.
And Magnus is like, oh, but I could have done better here.
Yeah.
No, it's just a masterpiece.
If he doesn't come to the interview, Kaja, with a smile as big as the Cheshire Cat, then we have to criticise him. We have to go, come on, Magnus, this is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been so consistent throughout the tournament. You know, the record-breaking 34 points in the preliminaries, losing just one game to Aronian.
Breaking 2,900 with this win.
Smashing through that golden barrier, 2,900.
And, I mean, Arjun, with his last move, is trying to use the rook to defend, but you don't even have to pull the trigger quite yet if you're white here. But, yeah, he's going to be over 2,900 rating, isn't he, on the tour with this win. It was just phenomenal achievement.
Yeah.
Just got to do it on you know, in real life now, and he's there. So
real life?
Real life.
This is real life, Simon.
Yeah, I suppose so. Like, over the board. Yeah. I think it's that's what I was looking at, yeah.
Imagine being over 2,900 in classical rapid blitz Fischer random.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that might be the pinnacle.
Yeah.
Doesn't get much better than that.
We asked him, I think it was after preliminaries, if when was it? Sometime. I asked him if we're seeing a generation shift in chess, and he said, yeah, definitely, already seeing that. I'm not so sure. He seems ready to stay up there.
Yeah, I mean, he's extra motivated playing all these young guys.
Yeah.
I guess it must be tiring playing people of his same generation for Magnus hundreds of times. You know their styles, you know their openings, you know how the games go. When you play someone young, it's fresh, it's different ideas, it's a different style of chess.
Is he going to try to go for something with a bit of flair? I'm thinking move the knight into the middle. Don't do this at home. It's the kind of move where there's no point to do. But is he going to try to find a stylish finish or
something like this?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be doing that myself. But
bring the rook in.
Yeah, or is he going to just try to find a clinical finish? I mean, what is the most clinical finish here? Pushing the pawn in the middle. Is there a queen check? Just don't have to calculate the end.
Yep.
So
this queen check looks very strong. Pushing this pawn makes sense. You open up the bishop on this diagonal. The black bishop will block. What's the follow-up? I mean, it's hanging again by a thread for black right now. I guess you can give a check.
Yeah, then take the bishop, probably.
Yeah, and then if the knight blocks, for example, I mean, you can take this knight, you can take the bishop. I mean, either way you win. Rook takes, and now you can take this knight. This is a nice way. Discovered attack against the black queen. Undefended. Maybe black can defend better there. I'm not sure. OK, Magnus. Yeah. We're going to find out. He has opened up his bishop. This bishop is a real archer, firing arrows down at the black king. I just don't see how to defend.
No, this is a very natural move. You take away more squares from the black pieces, you open your bishop, you open another attacking piece, and you're just asking black, what are you going to do? And I don't think there's much that can be done.
You're attacking with 3 right now, with the knight and rook on standby.
Wow. Yeah. And 1 minute left for Arjun Erigaisi. Do you think that means also 1 minute left in the final, basically?
Not much time. The clock is ticking down, and with it, Arjun's chances. And we're expecting bishop takes bishop, right?
I think queen check is maybe worth flicking in as well. Maybe the black king has to move, but I'm just trying to find the absolute killer. So queen check looks like it's a good move because it lines up against the black queen, showing those tactics David demonstrated. But is there a killer after the king goes in the corner? There should be.
Yeah, let's quickly investigate before Magnus plays his move. He's doing the same as we're doing. He knows it's winning. I mean, just looking at this position, you can tell, but you need the killer blow. So he's calculating checks first, then he'll look for the captures, the threats. This check, as we showed, the knight jumping in the way, white can just take the bishop off, and this knight will drop next move, for example, and then we win the queen. This is the line we showed earlier, and therefore Simon thinks, and I think correctly, that the only move, if you can't block with the knight, is to move into the corner. It looks so dangerous, but you can meet this check with a knight block. Otherwise, this would be the lawnmower checkmate, I think.
That would be. I mean, can you just first of all just go for material?
How do you go for material here?
Yeah, I was thought if you could flick in a queen check before moving the rook.
So here, queen check. I mean, just take this pawn, or do you want to flick across here, maybe?
We're going to see this, guys.
We're going to see it. OK, he's given a check.
Gives a check with his rook.
Over. And does the queen come over one square? It does. Yeah.
Lining up against this knight.
Only move to save the game is to use the rook.
To defend?
Yeah.
And what's the tipping point? How do you push black over the edge? I still don't see it. This bishop is defended by black's rook in the centre. This knight is defended by the other rook. Suddenly, these two pieces can't really get in. Where's the finishing touch? Maybe, if you want to keep things simple, I guess you just trade off the bishops, and then maybe you take this pawn with the queen. Next move, you start to bring the knight into the centre, or maybe this way.
But still holding on, though.
Black's alive.
It doesn't seem like the smoothest way to convert the advantage here. I mean, we didn't know what the win was, but is there something easier than that? OK, he's going for this.
Does go for this. OK, we see that position on the board. Queen takes pawn has happened, so white will jump in with his knight, and still looking good. The black king stuck in the corner, but OK, Erigaisi. Credit to him, he survived the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still uphill struggle. Can he continue surviving? It's level pawns on the board right now, but strategically still dominant for white. And OK, a defensive piece has come along. You love those fianchettoed rooks, don't you, Simon? Defensively.
I mean, it seems like there's some chances to survive this to me. I mean, like he's got a bit of a defensive formation. It's materially equal, so there's no advantage. And if white
it's built on time on the clock as well.
Yeah. So it's not quite over.
It's turned the Indians' way, and yeah, fair play to Arjun. I mean, he's so good. We know him for attacking, for being great in the opening, for being really smooth technically in the end game, but defensively he's showing that, you know, he's up there with the best. I don't think many people would have survived this long against Magnus from that position earlier.
No.
If you can get the queens off here, that would be, you know, back in the game, definitely. So
Yep.
I'd love to move my queen up one square if I was black here, right?
Yeah. And I was kind of curious because Magnus' position looks so overwhelming that it's difficult to believe that the material is equal. I would have thought that he had some advantage here somewhere. But I like his last move. You know, it's a very Magnus-type move. He's just making a square available for the white king to run to. And also, maybe the white knight can springboard to a protected g4 square.
What is the reason Magnus is so much better in this game? So everything looks, you know, when I look at it, it doesn't look like it to me.
King safety is the main thing. If you take a look at black's king, it's defended by pieces. And that's not the optimal use of your pieces. I mean, you'd rather have the rook perhaps attacking, yeah, on the centre line. You certainly would not like the knight to be acting like a pawn. And Arjun playing Simon's move, trying to offer a trade of queens, and Magnus is absolutely not. No way.
It's essentially like a battle, if you imagine all the warriors, and you've got your best fighters, your best soldiers, standing at the back, you know, in the tent, guarding their king, when actually all your foot soldiers are just there, being beaten up by the opponent's best fighters. So here, White's setup is he has the kind of bodyguards in front of his king, the white queen, the white rook, white knight, they're open to do what they want, the best fighters. And if you look at black's knight, it will never, ever move from in front of its king. It's just stuck there. So the rest of the board, black is playing a knight down, essentially. So it's... I'm still surprised as well that the evaluation bar is that much in black's favour, in Magnus's favour, sorry. But it's clearly good for white here. Again, just comparison of the kings.
I mean, this looks like the killer blow to me. I think Arjun might have been relying on moving a pawn to unleash the queen, but it just doesn't work. You just lose material.
5 seconds.
This
I have to make a move.
Okay, this
And he
move, as you
does.
mentioned, Simon.
Well, I think you can just take the rook and take the pawn. Next move.
But black's queen is coming out, and black's queen is going to hit the white rook on the other.
Well, at least I'm finding ways to lose this position.
Wow. So this is a counter-attack. Black's queen is suddenly opened up a threat against white's rook on the side of the board. I mean, taking that black rook looks like a good step. I mean, the white rook can always go up and take a pawn after.
You've got a queen, white queen coming to the back rank. There are plenty of ways, but...
White's rook can go and take the black knight. There's other options.
Yeah. And he does take the rook. And now Erigaisi has to capture the rook. And, rook takes pawn, and black's position is now starting to fall apart.
Yeah, and now we do a quick count. White is also 1 pawn up with an ongoing attack. Erigaisi's trying his best, though. The white queen under threat.
But only for one move, because Magnus is the one that delivers a check first. And either black is going to trade off rooks, or he has to step forward with his king. And, a set of rooks are going to leave the board.
Yeah, and now Magnus is going to start mopping up. He gives a queen check. A second, potentially third pawn is going to fall. I still think Erigaisi's defended so well, but the problem is you're playing the best player in the world, and you don't always have to go for checkmate, as Magnus is showing. He's just playing materially now. He's going to give another check, most likely with the white queen. The one thing he has to avoid, Magnus, is the black queen coming in to start checking the white king. White's king's slightly vulnerable, so with this check, Magnus loves to centralise his queen, first of all, but with this check, he's covering any potential queen jumps, knight jumps for black. And big double threat, hitting the black queen and threatening to go with the white queen in front of the black king, checkmate.
And black has no checks here. I mean, he has a knight check, but it doesn't help. You can't stop checkmate or losing your queen here.
Yeah, checkmate is coming one way or the other. The evaluation bar is shot all the way up. No defence, 10 seconds on the clock. He throws in one last desperate check. This knight can just safely be captured. And maybe another check with the black queen, but...
You can even block with the queen here, yeah. Simple way to do it.
Over.
There we go. Magnus swapping the queens off. Extra knight, extra pawn. He's going to win the tournament.
Wow. And there it is. It's over. Arjun Erigaisi resigns, facing an impossible world #1, Magnus Carlsen, with a slight smile there. He is the winner of the Julius Baer Generation Cup. He's been fantastic this tournament. Only lost, well, 2 games. One of them was to Hans Niemann. Away from Magnus Carlsen, what a performance. He has reached 2,900 on the tour ratings. What a player he is, and what a game, David. Let's finally take a look at the winning game.
What a game, and there are so many moments, instructive moments from this game. I recommend everyone at home to play through the opening, especially if you're a 1d4 player as white. Magnus, he had a winning attack, he converted it, actually in nice, composed style a bit later on, and it was here. Black's defences just can't hold any longer. They're creaking, this rook is attacked, this pawn is attacked, potentially even this pawn is under threat, and Arjun maybe could have moved his rook and survived slightly longer. Instead, he went on the counter, hitting the white knight, but Magnus calculated very calmly again that he could simply take the black rook. When the white rook falls, hitting this piece, white can simply step forward, and as we showed, this was the killer blow. Rather than allowing any counterattack, hitting the queen, hitting the pawn, Magnus flicked in a timely check, and after everything got traded off, another check, and the black king was doomed. Simply here, nothing to do against the threat of queen g7 checkmate, but also the threat of simply winning the black queen. Really calm finish from Magnus, and Erigaisi defended his best, not enough.
Incredible game. How impressed have you been with Magnus today, David?
Yeah, I'm just running out of praise. I'm going to go through and play over all of his games this tournament. It's just been another level. I don't know how he's done it, but he's stepped up a whole gear in this tournament. Yeah,
Arjun Erigaisi, I guess he just didn't stand a chance with Magnus at his very best.
Yeah, it was a tough final, wasn't it, for Arjun? Definitely. I mean, he plays a lot better than that, but he was just made to, well, look very average because of a brilliant Magnus. I mean, what can you do when Magnus, world champion, plays that well? And he didn't really get into the games, and everything just went wrong really for him.
And we're joined by the winner of the Julius Baer Generation Cup. Congratulations, Magnus Carlsen.
Thank you.
I refuse to believe you have something negative to say about your play today. How happy are you with this final day?
I mean, there is a lot that I can say, but I'm very happy. I sort of played very much throughout this match like anti-young player chess. in the sense that sort of tried to play a little bit kind of older, less theoretical lines that have some serious strategic complexity, and it worked out really well. I feel like in the second game today, already from the opening, I had a considerably better position, and after that, it was fairly straightforward.
So what are you the most happy about with the way you played in, well, the whole tournament?
I mean, for the final first, I would say that I'm happy with the opening choices that I made, the sort of psychological, the strategy I had from a psychological point of view. And then for the tournament as a whole, I think the level was pretty good. Could have been even better, of course. I feel like I dipped a little bit at points in the knockouts, but then obviously the finish was nice.
Yeah, I feel I hear more and more in your interviews lately that you talk about psychology. Is it something you focus more and more on in your chess?
Yeah, for sure. And now I'm playing younger and younger players, so it makes sense to employ some different tricks as they catch up.
Yeah. And something else that David has mentioned him noticing, that not as often you castle anymore. Is it a trend that you're not castling in some of your games?
I think I just play terrible openings that don't enable me to castle. I think it's as simple as that.
All right. Now, Magnus, another congratulations. You have now reached 2,900 on the tour ratings.
No, that's very nice. I'm assuming like most of the gain recently has come from this tournament alone. And while I obviously I can nitpick things here and there, and I obviously will. Overall, I mean, the performance has been, score-wise, has been great. I mean, as I said before, after the round robin, it was on par with some of my best rapid results ever, and now in the knockout, even though I wasn't always happy, the score was great.
Yeah.
But I do feel also today, Arjun can do a lot better than this, and I'm sure he'll learn from playing a wily old fuck like me a few more times.
Very nice. Now, talking about the ratings, we know 2,900 is a goal in classical chess, in Blitz, and in the Tour. Is it possible to reach 3,000?
Well, I've already reached 3,000 in Blitz rating, so that's kind of done. On the Tour, pretty tough. I think 2,900 is something I should be pretty happy about. My rapid speeder rating has also reached 2,900 a couple of times, so that's a good benchmark.
And playing this tournament in such a fantastic fashion that you have, I want to ask you, because obviously there's been controversy, some drama going on, and we've seen in other sports with big sports stars, they sometimes thrive when there is some drama, controversies going on. How you felt more motivated because of the stuff going on?
I cannot say that 100%, but I haven't felt less motivated, let's put it like that.
Okay. And, well, regarding the Niemann story, can we expect a statement from you coming out tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll say a little bit more, whether it'll be tomorrow or one of the days after is not completely...
Yeah. Is it something you look forward to get off your chest, maybe?
I mean, to some extent. I generally want there to be, cheating in chess to be dealt with seriously. But
so
yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll certainly put out a statement very soon, and that will be also not be all you hear from me on the.
Okay, we definitely look forward to that. Chess-wise, what is coming for you in the near future now? Something you look forward to?
Yeah, for sure. I'm playing the European Club Cup with my club Offerspill. That's starting, I think, Monday, maybe, in a week and a day. So that's my next challenge. And obviously after that, it's the next tour event. So never any time to be bored.
Yeah, that's nice. And big news yesterday, actually. There's going to be a huge chess boxing event in LA in December. One of your friends, I think, Lawrence Trent, one of the headlines there. What do you think about chess boxing?
I think it's a great spectacle, and I hope to. I've been invited by my good friend Ludwig to commentate, and I hope to be able to do it. And obviously, when it comes to Lawrence, I know he's taking this super seriously, and Aman as well. So it's gonna be a great fight, and I just hope that they will both escape with their health.
I agree.
Who would be your ideal chess boxing opponent, Magnus?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I think there was somebody who has wanted to fight me in the past, whom might be a suitable opponent both in boxing and in chess. And I'll leave it to you and the viewers as well to speculate to whom.
We'll get right on that. Magnus, again, big congratulations on winning the tournament.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Should we start speculating right away? Who could that be?
I no idea.
I think I know.
Spill it.
It's more interesting if the viewers can speculate
Yeah.
among themselves.
You
But,
just nod, Simon.
I'm just keeping quiet.
I just think Kung Fu.
Yeah.
That's my hint. Kung Fu.
All right. Wow. That was it. Magnus Carlsen, after an incredible performance, especially in the final, is the winner of the Julius Baer Generation Cup. So I guess the oldest are still the oldest, as we say in Norwegian. Magnus Carlsen in the quarterfinals. He knocked out Levon Aronian, turning 40 in a couple of weeks. So an early happy birthday to Levon. Arjun Erigaisi, he knocked out the youngest player in the tournament, 15-year-old Christopher Yu, in the quarterfinals. In the semis, Vincent Keimer, he fell to Magnus Carlsen, and Liam Le to Arjun Erigaisi. We actually had 5 teenagers in the knockout stage, but eventually it is the 31-year-old Magnus Carlsen who wins it, and now with $180,000 on the tour standings. That is more than $70,000 more than the second place Pragnananda. With only 2 tournaments to go, Pragnananda can max score $90,000, and that if he wins everything. So it looks very good for Magnus Carlsen to also win the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour 2022. 2 tournaments to go. The next one starts on October 14th. That's regular. And after that, 1 more major to go to decide the winner of the tour. All right. 2 more tournaments. Can't believe the season is almost over.
I know. Where's the time?
Yeah.
I don't understand, but I mean, what an impressive display by Magnus. You know, this is his 4th tournament victory. He just leaps ahead of everyone else on the tour standings, and it's just incredible.
Yeah. Has he ever impressed you more in the tour than this tournament, Simon?
No, it's just a simple answer. He's just played great. I mean, like you say, he's only lost 1 game, 1 proper game, the whole tour, and his chess has just been phenomenal. So really impressive. Yeah.
Really impressive, yes, David.
Yeah, it's felt like a changing of the guard with all those youngsters coming through, but it's clear there's still one big boss at the end. There's still one gatekeeper who's dominating the chess world, and the youngsters, they will hopefully be inspired. They'll hopefully learn from competing against him, and I think they should cherish every game. Erigaisi, he's going to come back stronger. We're going to hear much more from all those young guys in the future, but for now, it's Magnus.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously see the teenagers coming super strong. Do we need to see some more from the guys around Magnus's age? Anish Giri, Duda, the guys in their 20s, 30s.
Yep, they're generally quite consistent, but maybe they will start to be more motivated by all the youngsters coming up, taking their places.
Yeah.
And I know when I play younger opponents, I always feel like I have something to prove, as Magnus did. So, I'm definitely expecting the kind of more established generation to make a comeback in the next tournament.
Yeah. All right. It's been fun, you guys, and we really enjoyed having you guys with us for this battle between the generations eventually won by the world number 1, Magnus Carlsen. We will be back on October 14th, so hope to see you then. And in the meantime, keep playing chess, have some fun, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye for now.